Hello and welcome to Seahawks Scouting. This is our inaugural first live stream here at Seahawks Scouting. This is my secondary channel to my main channel, which is, of course, the Hawks Nest. Well, maybe not, of course. You may be just new to checking this out. And I've been doing a lot of scouting videos, but this particular year, we're going to be doing a little bit of a closer look at this quarterback class in particular. And we're going to try to really maybe take a little bit of a closer view on what's going on with the class, who's really rising above the ranks, which are the quarterbacks who truly are the most gifted. You certainly do this process through the post-evaluation process as you're about to enter in the draft. And when you're looking at guys, especially if it's your particular team that happens to be looking at those kind of quarterbacks leading into a year. Giants fans, I'm talking to you. Houston Texans fans, I'm probably talking to you. So there's going to be a lot of intrigue into these quarterbacks this year. And in this particular game, we're going to get a chance to see Will Levis against Miami of Ohio. What's up, Devin? Good to see you in the chat. And we're going to get to see them go up against Ohio here and see what Mr. Levis can do in his first game action of the season. Kentucky is ranked 20th right now in college football. To give you guys a little bit of an update of what we've seen across the board to a degree here to start things off. KJ Jefferson is looking very impressive right now as the Arkansas Razorbacks are currently up by 7 points here on the Cincinnati Bearcats with 5:54 to 5:49 to go in the fourth quarter there. He's got 3 touchdowns, been very efficient, high yard per attempt average. I haven't had a chance to look at much of the game, but just been kind of keeping an eye on it in the game cast, and he has definitely been very impressive in that respect of things. Not any other quarterbacks up yet that I've seen. Florida is not yet to play. Ohio State is not yet to play. Of course, we're looking at a couple of guys in those games, so can't speak to necessarily those performances as of yet. But nonetheless, this will be a fun one here with Levis and company. Miami of Ohio certainly is not going to necessarily provide the biggest difficulty for Levis. But nonetheless, a lot of what I want to look for today is just, does the mechanics still look clean? Is he progressing in this pro system? Is he able to maybe cut down on those interceptions, which were a little bit of a problem last year? And that's the part I'm going to be most hopeful for as we watch him here play today. And right now, Kentucky did defer on this, so Miami of Ohio is going to go ahead and start things off and get a first down. And I'm not going to do much scouting on this Miami of Ohio quarterback because he's not going to be doing a whole lot this year. Ryan Frere, loving me some KJ Jefferson. Boy, KJ, what a day he's put up here on that side of things. Just efficient. What stood out here when I was just kind of looking at the game cast and how this was playing out a bit is it would look like Cincinnati was trying to take away KJ's legs in this game because he's only got like 41 yards despite the fact that he's run the ball 13 times. So he's had to really just do it from his arm today. 18 of 26, 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think that's a pretty impressive day from an efficiency standpoint there. The one thing I'm going to wonder is just, is he doing everything out of that read option Cam Newton offense, or do they actually have him doing some stuff under center, or he's going at least through some progressions in his read? Big Country, happy College Football Saturday. That's right. First College Football Saturday of the year, man. Let's go. Mr. Rook says, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Flag Savage says, man, Noah Sewell looked bad today. I did watch that early on game, and Georgia and Oregon going toe to toe, and Oregon showed you that they are very far away from the days of when Chip Kelly was there. Sorry, I don't know why that turned on all of a sudden. That was random, but they certainly just didn't look. They didn't look good. They got blown out. And to your point, I was kind of locking in flag on Sewell and like, okay, show me what you got, Noah. Everyone's telling me that this is the guy, instead of, packaging 2 first-round picks or going in another direction, that this is the guy that we should be targeting as a linebacker in next year's draft. And I thought instinctually he didn't look great. And I think you mentioned the main thing about what you saw in his play, which was that just the tackling wasn't very good. And that stood out to me. And like, why is this so bad with this? This is supposed to be your bread and butter of your game, I thought. But I haven't done a lot of scouting on Noah, so I've got to admit that there's still a lot more from my standpoint I've got to look into on him. Ryan says, the only thing I've noticed is today The only thing I noticed is today KJ has taken some unnecessary sacks trying to extend the play. Yeah, that's I could see him that being a part of what he's doing out there a little bit from time to time. And based on some of the tape I'd watched with him, though last year it was a lot of I got to take that back. Last year there was a lot more of the one read, or he would, if it wasn't there, then he's going to go and scramble. So that's interesting to hear that he's maybe that's a little bit of a sign of him getting more comfortable in the pocket doing it, though. Those guys that do that, not everyone can be Russell-like in the way that they do that. You can run around and be just as fast and just as quick, but you've got to be somewhat have that instinctualness also to know just the right timing and feel guys around you, because you can easily run yourself right into a sack that's a sack with a lot of depth, 14, 15 yards back off the line of scrimmage. And Miami of Ohio here is moving the ball against Kentucky. Excuse me. They're moving things here against Kentucky pretty well. So bringing up a 3rd and 5. We're just on Levis watch here. Big Country Stenson Bennett looked pretty impressive today. Still not sold on him though. Yeah, I mean, he looked good, but yeah, I still lean on where I'm at with that kid. Just not got enough there to get it done. Not enough. Benefiting from playing with a whole bunch of good guys. Flag, he was slow to react. He got swallowed by blockers and was always chasing plays. Yeah, I saw the same thing. I saw him react too. The instinct stuff is what I look for at the college level. Who's the guy that can almost have a feel for where the ball's going on, especially the read option stuff. When it's in the belly of a running back, you've done your tape watching, you have these instincts on the field where you can feel where the play is going to go. Not just that kind of play, but maybe it could be a fly sweep coming across the formation, pre-snap, and knowing whether or not having just always seeming to choose right in where you're going with your first instinct, or at least doing that a predominant amount of the time. That was missing from Sewell today in his performance on the field. There was a lot of taking the cheese on every time that they would show him something. Georgia would show him, oh, go here. He'd take it. And then they'd hit him to the backside of the play. And then he was just having the plays where he just flat out was missing tackles, just straight missing them. He did not look like a first, second round talent like I've been told that he is based on that performance today. All right, 3rd and 5 for Miami of Ohio here. They're going to try a little bubble screen. Kentucky's on it, but boy, that receiver fights hard. He might have almost gotten it. I think he's going to be a little bit short. Let's see. It looks like Miami's going to go for it. Miami going to go for it. Flag Zappa says Tyler Van Dyke, Mario Cristobal is going to make him look bad. Is he? Did they play today? I was looking for the stats on that. I didn't see him. I mean, Mario's going to want to run the ball a lot. I think is a little bit your point on that, where there's going to be less of featuring of Tyler. And I'd agree with you there. It's not great for them trying to make assessments on him. I mean, this is I think what you're also referencing. Maybe not. I'm not trying to reference your reference to the reference and referencing it back. But then you've got, of course, with Mario, the first thing in your mind is Justin Herbert, and the fact that he didn't show what he is now at the college level there. Though, shoot, man, Miami put 70 on the board. Tyler, 13 of 16. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, they're playing Bethune Cookman, so they're probably like, why not? Well, let's just, we're not going to get this guy injured against this. We can just run this all day against Bethune. And Miami's got a long drive. This Miami team's got a long drive going. But boy, if he's only throwing 16 times a game, you're not going to get a lot of stuff to go off of with the Mario flag. MSR says, I saw Van Dyke throw some dimes earlier. KJ looks solid, but stiff. A lot of Cam Newton read option stuff and some stiffness in the pocket and hesitant to make throws, but otherwise some good throws. That's pretty much fits to what my assessment had been of him last year a little bit. 2nd and 3 here with Miami of Ohio. They're going to run the ball up the head, and he's going to score here. Job by the running back. Came back around, found the hole, and took it upfield. Well, this Kentucky team is not great known for its defense. It's one of the things I like about Will is he doesn't have a stacked team around him here. He's got to do a lot of sort of carrying the day a bit. But certainly not his fault. He only gets 16 attempts, and they'll have him passing more, even with Mario's penchant for wanting to run the ball at a high rate. I still just think you're going to get to feature him a decent amount. And the good news is that if Mario's trying to keep him on script like he was trying to keep Justin Herbert on script, then Tyler can do that stuff. You're not letting him soar, but he's also not keeping him ground bound either. I hadn't checked MSR. I didn't know that Miami was playing quite yet, so I got to check back on the tape on some of those throws on what Tyler was doing. It's good to see he had a good day. Like I said, we want all these guys to ball out. It's in our best interest every week that these guys are doing their thing. Bleed Blue and Green, thank you for reminding that. Please hit the like button, guys, if you do like what you're listening to. It's not a bad stat line, 13 to 16. That'll do. That'll do. Let's see, how's our Mariners doing, by the way, here? Starting off here. Well, they're not even beginning yet. But all the guys so far that we're looking at, so Tyler has a good day. KJ has a good day. Those are two of my 5 on my list right now. We don't have anything else on any of the other guys quite yet. Unless I'm missing somebody. I'm not going to put Bennett into that realm. He's too small, man. He's just too small. He's going to be a good college quarterback with a real good team around him, but he's just too small. He's a gamer. He'll be the next whoever Dallas's offensive coordinator is right now. He'll be that. Flag says, I like TVD, but he's probably not going to get the Herbert treatment. Probably not. And he's not on the same level as Herbert from a talent standpoint. I can't really see Van Dyke elevating himself into top 10, top 15 status. Maybe you can say, I don't know. I just can't see that. I think he says just middle of the road first rounder to me. It's kind of his top. Flag, that's fine. If he falls in draft, can we take Jalen Carter or Brian Brees, the pick up, and then pick up TVD later? I'm with it. I'm all right with it. All right, so we're going to get to see Levis here now. We'll do some live breakdowns here of this kid. See what he can bring to bear. Jalen Carr looks good, though. I haven't taken a look at Brian Brees yet. I got to start doing my film look. I've been holding off because I bury myself so deep prior to the draft and all those guys that I have to my eyes go cross-eyed, and it takes a couple months to get my vision back. Kind of a weird kickoff set up here by Miami of Ohio. All right. I'm excited here. A little bit of Levis. Kick returner brings it back when he probably shouldn't. And barely gets back past the 20. All right, Lil. Show him what's up. Show him what's up, big dog. Big country, I see Bennett as a backup, a third stringer. I could see him as maybe a backup type. Even that, he looks legit 5'10" to me. Maybe 5'11". All right, Levis coming under center. Notice I'm saying that, not spread. Play action, roll back to his left, hits his man in space out left, gives him some room to work with some yak after the catch, and he is down the football field out in the open. Well, how about that? Nice 40-yard play for the Kentucky Wildcats to begin things. Levis showing you that ability to still put some velocity on the throw as he's rolling back to his left, which is hard to do for the right-handed quarterback. Player was wide open in space due to the play action, but got the ball in his hands accurately with his ability to work. Something you see with Will a lot is usually when he puts it in his guys' hands, he's putting it there with their ability to work after the catch. They're not usually reaching back or an awkward angle to grab the ball, or they're having to sell their body out to make the catch. It's going to give him a chance. 1st and 10, he's now in shotgun here. Receiver runs back across the formation. This is a handoff to running back for about seven yards. Smoke is the running back for Kentucky. I want to draft him just for his last name, man. Levis and Smoke. Okay, we're going to get again a shotgun here, 8:22 on the clock. Just too wide. Levis drops back. Whew. He's got some zip on the ball today, folks. 1st down inside the red zone there. That's an in-cutting route. Nothing too fancy as far as what they're running there, but in-cutting route, he's got to put it in there as far as he's not going to have a lot of he's got a defender near him, so it's sort of hitting the space in the zone, hitting the open space in the zone with where the route is going. Again, as he drops back there, clean mechanics as well. His always right up on his feet in the right way. Never flat-footed. That's a little bit of an issue you'll see with KJ Jefferson at times. 1st and goal again in the shotgun here. Rolling out to his right. Throws it with a little bit too mustard on it as he was trying to hit his receiver coming back across there, and did put it a little bit behind him. But as they say, if it hits you in the hands, kids, you got to make the catch. Nice opening drive here for Levis. All right, 2nd and goal now, again in shotgun. Levis drops back to throw, hits his man quickly, touchdown. Tight end was just running a little out route to the front side of the end zone. Levis hit his back foot, threw with anticipation there. If you go back and watch this play, and hopefully they can show this on the replay, as soon as he's at his back foot, he's letting that ball go before even the tight end's broken fully out to look back at it. And it's just one of those places you played football or receiver and where you're running, you turn back and the ball's already been in flight. It's coming to you. You're not waiting for that quarterback to throw it. That's some of also what Will does really good on tape is just that not needing that extra heartbeat to throw. For those of us Seahawks fans that are having to watch Geno Smith at times, this is a little bit of what will drive you crazy with him, in that he'll take the extra 2 or 3 heartbeats to throw. And that's not what Will do. If he has an idea of where he wants to go with it, knows where he wants to go, he'll go there. Now, the key with that is going to be also, that was a great angle kind of showing what I was just talking about there that they showed on the telecast, where maybe not quite throwing it right as he's breaking out of his route, but certainly the ball's out of his hands before the tight end's really recognized he's thrown it. And that's just thrown to a spot, knowing where he needs to put the ball, trusting that his tight end's going to get to the right space. You've got to throw with anticipation in the modern NFL. It can't always be about waiting for the guy to break wide open and then you see it and then you get to throw it. That's a rare point that you get that opportunity to do that type of thing. MSR says one throw he made in the red zone where you say he has pinpoint accuracy and it was a perfect throw. It's what throws me off with this MSR. He's the, you know what? This is an old school MSR reference for you for the back to Sean Alexander days. He's the Sean Alexander of quarterbacks, Tyler Van Dyke. And that he is good accuracy in between the 20s. But I mean, he turns into a dart thrower when you get him in the red zone. Something about being down there, just he's very comfortable. And it doesn't matter what kind of throw. It doesn't matter if it's one where it's requiring the laser beam or he's got to put the pillowy soft fade going over the top. Doesn't matter. does not matter. He is good in either respect of things, and it's weird. And so if he's carried that through today, that's funny, MSR. You can't. That's a skill, right? Like we can't just look at the quarterbacks with just a set 5 skills: arm strength, intelligence, progression read, mobility. This has got to be one you'd have to put on that list, right? Of it's an odd one. You wouldn't usually measure it, but how are they in the red zone? MSR, what happened to the Oklahoma quarterback who transferred to USC, Caleb Williams? I thought you were a fan of him. I am. He's playing right now, I think, at USC. Let's see where he's doing. They were up by a touchdown in their game. Let's see here. Yeah, they're up. Dude, they're 28-7. They're playing Rice. He's not. Caleb Williams is 9 of 10 for 149 yards. So Caleb's balling right now. And this is what I'm saying. Like, we want all these guys to do as good as possible. The more quarterbacks, the merrier, because that means that's the less maybe we have to give up in assets to go trade up for the one tried and true guy. But I like Caleb too. I didn't get to see as much of him at Oklahoma because he came in for Spencer Rattler fairly deep into the season last year. He's good though. I like what I see out of him. I like he's got the gunslinger mentality going for him, where he will let it rip. Good arm, good accuracy. I don't know if I saw anything in him that was a great aspect to his game, but a lot of good. He's kind of in that Tyler Van Dyke area of things a little bit. So we got a 7-7 game here between Kentucky and Miami of Ohio. Miami will take back over here. Is Williams a sophomore? That makes sense then. That's probably why I looked into him and, oh yeah, I got a year. I don't have to take a look at him quite yet. But that adds up. Is he a red short? Is he a true sophomore or red shirt sophomore? Either way, he's fun to watch. When he came in for Oklahoma, there was a absolute different energy about that offense last year when he took over for Spencer Rattler. So Miami of Ohio has a quarterback by the name of Gabbert. Is this kid related to Blaine? Is he like a mini Blaine? Cousin or something? And this number 9 for Miami of Ohio is a pretty good little back. He looks kind of like a receiver with his body style, but he gets through a hole pretty quick. Yeah, Caleb's doing pretty good. Caleb's holding strong pretty well right now. 2nd and 6 here. First quarter is winding through really fast. Already at 6:33 on the clock. Both these teams, a lot of completions, a lot of running, just keeping things rolling. There's another handoff. Kentucky's defense swallows that up. There we go. But Caleb's definitely on my list of a guy that's a prospect for sure. I'm not low on him at all, but I think he is let me look it up. Caleb, sophomore. I guess he's they say he's a 4.6 guy. I don't think so. Yep. He's another year out. We'll consider him in the future. He's a youngin'. I know he got 4.6 though. 4.6 is pretty fast for that. He didn't look 4.6 last year. That seems a little bit of a dodgy number there. That is Blaine Gabbert's brother. Okay. And Kentucky's forced to punt here. Flag Sabbath says Rattler got his ego crushed, needs to go on a spiritual journey. Or, transfer. That's the other way that they go about it now. If one doesn't suit one, go the other, right? That's the other way you can go with it. Spencer was a guy, again, just one of those guys that can trick you a little bit. I know why people got hyped up on him, and I think it's because of the fact that he had so many wow throws on his tape with Oklahoma, but boy, did he fell off. I think there's a little bit of a thing there too with him and Caleb. They had something going back, it seems like. I don't know what it was exactly, but there was like a video coming out with them we're going at it, some camp of some kind. But Rattler can still bring himself back out. He can still open some eyes. He's got a ways to go, but man, Houston's almost close to getting second overtime with UTSA, and UTSA is hanging in there with a Houston. Utah looking strong against Florida. Of course, we got our eyes on that particular game with Anthony Richardson, who's 2 of 3 out the gate. Also has 2 carries for 23 yards. That's a tough test for Anthony Richardson to start things off. That is a tall task to go up against that Utah defense, which has been pretty legitimate for a few years now. Playing Gabbard's brother. We'll have so many quarterbacks to talk about from today after this, too. I got a lot of film to be looking at tonight. See how these guys do. We still got Ohio State later on here. Another 2 minutes. That game's going to start up. And Arkansas indeed does go on to beat the Cincinnati Bearcats. Bearcats lost a lot of talent out the door this season. Not initiated them. They might go back a little bit this year. That's the way college football works. But KJ Jefferson, 18 to 26, 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ran for 18 times for 62 yards, a 3.4 yard per carry average. So good overall day by Arkansas. That's a tough test there for KJ, right? It's not the same kind of deal what Levis is dealing with here today against Miami of Ohio. So, as I say, I still look at KJ and see him as a first-round pick. Nothing in these stats or what I'm seeing in the baseline of the early pulse of these first games is dissuading me from my early feeling on at least 3. I've got 3 of 5 guys we've had play on my top 5 list that have played really well here this opening week. Levis back in shotgun now. He has had only 1 snap under center here to begin things. Low snap, manages to collect it, regains himself, says, I'm going deep, baby. Looking deep, throws it up on kind of a trust throw. Receiver cannot quite bring it in. Really was a bad snap there. Levis underthrew the ball just a little bit deep. The receiver definitely, again, had his hands on the ball, but certainly was just a little bit of a hair back and behind him a bit. Mariners are up by 1. Thank you, Nitro Hawk. Appreciate the update. Waiting for Cam Ward. Interested to see what happens with him. He's another guy I'll be counting. This is why I'm going to do a whole show, I think, on Tuesday, just for this reason. Just for this reason, is so that I can cover kind of all that stuff. And we have, again, a little bubble screen out here. Levis gets it quickly into this man's hand, gets up the field for a nice gain of 15 there. Oh, last year they had Wandale Robinson there. They've got a T. Robinson there now. I wonder if is that maybe a brother of Wandale who's in the NFL now. This will be a give under center here. Cameraman, you want to know how good Will Levis's play fakes are? It's like, if you guys want a real good sign of how good his play fakes are, if you can fake out the cameraman on an under center play action pass, you're doing a good job. And that's just what Levis did there, is he caused the cameraman to stay with him on the shot rather than go with just a simple handoff underneath inside. but he does such a good job with not being able to tell the difference of when he gets it in that gut and when it's not in that gut. A little nuance that not a lot of quarterbacks necessarily adopt into their game. And this will be a pitch play from under center, and we'll get, looks like, a first down. Smoke with a nice run there. Hawkso says, if Shane Waldron isn't here next year, are you still taking Levis? Well, no, not just on the surface of it, not just because if you're going to be going to a different offensive scheme, what's the new offensive scheme you're wanting to go to? I mean, maybe they want to go to the Cam Newton offense with KJ Jefferson, or the Lamar Jackson, offense with Roman, whatever his offensive coordinator's name is there, that's crafted that offensive or attack around him being a running back. Maybe that's the type of offense you want to put forward. So first, I'm informed first, at least from the way I look at it. First, what's the type of offense we're running? Then what type of quarterback does the team require for the blueprint that's being put together? And then that sort of informs me on which guy would be number one on my list. Certainly, Levis would still be high for me regardless, because he's pro ready, and that fits to the second of those points I just made about what's best for the team kind of period, which is that at the end of the day, you want the pro ready quarterback. And this is a give up center on 1st and 5, and that will get another first down. At the end of the day, you want the pro ready quarterback for the system. So who shows himself to be that will carry a lot of weight. But if the new offensive scheme is going to run the Cam Newton offense, I probably don't want Will Levis running that. So that's where that I kind of try to kind of parse those through a little bit. Levis back under center now here again, 1st and 10, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. We've seen this formation a lot in Seattle, haven't we, folks? Give is again back to Smoke, and he gets a couple yards the outside. It's really challenging on defenses with these pure 2 tight end sets where you got them both sides of the field, and you have no pre-snap ability to kind of cheat one way or another. And if you do as a defense, let's say if you shade your linebackers to one side or the other, the quarterback will oftentimes have a change-up call where they can just flip the run and then take advantage of the natural leverage you've given up by having those linebackers shaded. Really gives the offense a chance to attack so wide on a defense. Unless you're able to get penetration, it can be tough. 2nd and 7, Levis again under center, play action pass. This little screen to the tight end. Nice job getting up the field there. First down. Levis running things well here. His only 2 incompletions here so far through this first quarter have been in the hands of the receivers. Neither was the greatest of pass, but he's been on point. Little face mask there that went uncalled at the end. He found his dingle on that. That's the tight end's name is Dingle. But Levis dingled the dangle there on that one. 1st and 10, Levis back in shotgun. Goes 3 wide here now. Looks like a run play. Play action. Oh. Little false start by the offense. Levis looking good and in control here. Boomer says this Utah defense is the real deal. I would believe it. They're really good. In fact, I think I'm going to put up I want to have 2 games going here at once. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let us make us have 2 games one time. I'm watching. I don't want to watch golf. All right. Levis in shotgun here. Spread formation. Goes through a couple of reads. Comes back to the other side of the field and finds his open. So 1, 2, back to the 3 there. I love the progression and the quickness with which he goes through the progressions there. Starts out looking left side of his field. Looks outside, looks then to the second read, comes back to the third. Levis continuing to impress here for me early on. Very, very much. Better turn this down. We'll get both games going here. So I got Utah and I got Miami and Kentucky going here. All right, so 3rd and 2, and that will end the first quarter here now. Well, overall in the first quarter, I think Levis has played pretty well. First drive commanded them to a touchdown. This drive, they are well on their way here now. And the Florida-Utah game. Looks like Florida's kind of driving here. Florida's got a little bit of problems with penalties. Let's see how Richardson looks here. Utah runs that same defensive line as Seattle where they'll put 3 defensive linemen and then have one guy as a stand-up outside linebacker in the wide 9 technique. It's been a recent new way they run defense now. I've seen with our Hawks doing it and in other teams. Like, I don't know why that's more beneficial than having what would have been the 9 or what they call the Leo back in the day. You used to have him with his hand in the dirt, but now you have him stand up. I don't know if that's because it puts them in a better range to then if they need to move outside to protect against the flat routes, if they have them in coverage. Be interested to find out from a coach what the benefit is of that versus having the wide 9 guy in just his pure Leo, just like you had with Clemens back in the day, right? And all it essentially means is that your defensive end taking that extra half yard on the outside shoulder of the tackle there to get that extra space for an extra juicy angle. And Anthony Richardson just did a nice job of completing a pass right down the seam there. Anthony goes, boy, Anthony looking good on that one. Just like we saw it of Will Levis there. He's looking to his left, goes through his reads, come back right for a seam route as his 3rd read right. Oh, man, this ain't college football Saturday. This is college quarterback Saturday right now. Oink, oink. Can I show the game? Yes, it would be cool if you did that. Oink, oink. Sadly, no, I get punished. They shut my channel down and I get copywritten strikes if I do that type of thing. So if I did it, it would last about 3 minutes before I'd be shut down. So you wouldn't even get a chance to enjoy the game. So unfortunately not. I got to stay on the good side of things. I'd love to do it though, man. MSR, Anthony Richardson almost made an insane throw on 3rd and 7, but it was a little short. And then a flag came in, but nonetheless, he escaped pressure and almost dropped a deep dime. He looked good here right out the gate on what I'm seeing this one, man. Woo. Yeah, they got trips here with the Florida game against Utah. Richardson directing traffic at the line of scrimmage. We'll hand off the running back. They're really going after the Utah defense with running the ball, but having some success with it too. Having some success. Certainly can tell this first college football Saturday that the tackling has not been there across the board with teams. This is definitely the first game of the year. A good long drive there going. Richardson rolls out now. We're going to get a chance to see him try to run a little bit on 3rd and 2 and can't quite get it. Gets a penalty at the end. It's kind of a beneficial penalty there as he was down, and it was pretty straightforward play where it shouldn't have been any flag, but they're going to get him for a late hit on the defense here. To me, you pick those flags up. Yeah, that's college football for you, though. They're just going to call that good. That's how it is in college football. But Levis was trying to dive forward and get extra yards. You got to, oh, it's that one at the end. I guess the one guy dropped down once more at the end. I guess that makes a little more sense. The first two guys were good, but the third guy was just a little bit too much for him. Florida just rushing the ball down Utah's throat right now. 1st and 10 here for Levis. He's back in shotgun. 3 wide. Gives the running back up the middle. Not much room. 3rd and 5 here in the Florida game. Richardson over and throws a little bubble screen. Nice job by the receiver. Oh my gosh. He broke 8 tackles, but got 3 yards. So he'll still be short. That's tough. Go for it, coach. Come on. After that effort, you got to go for it. You're already down 7 points. All right. 2nd and 7 here for Kentucky. 13:55 on the clock. Will Levis drops back to throw. Hits his man right over the middle of the field for about 6 or 7 yards. It's Robinson. Looks like Florida's going to think about it a little bit. All right, so they're going to call, looks like a timeout here. Both Florida and Kentucky are going to call a timeout. It'll be a 3rd and 1 here. Are they trying to review this catch? Is that what they're doing? Oh, he did drop it. So all 3 of Will Levis's incompletions in this game, and you can make an argument they need to be better throwing balls maybe, but all 3 of the receivers had both hands on the football. That was certainly one that has to be caught by the receiver. Maybe a little bit worried that he was going to get hit by the defender. Started to kind of brace himself rather than worrying about the catch. Hard to ding necessarily Levis on that. And this will be overturned. So we'll get a chance here to see Levis with a 3rd and long. He has to kind of throw that ball on him to protect him from that safety, the very safety the receiver was worried about having hit him. So where's the receiver? You got to trust your quarterback there. I'm putting the ball down here in the position to keep you out of the hit. I mean, that's why I looked a little odd in the angle it was coming at him. So 13:30 to go here in the 2nd quarter. The game is tied 7-7. Will Levis back in shotgun, 3 wide receivers. We get a 4-man box here. It looks like they're going to drop a little. Ooh, they're creeping pressure up. Nope, dropping it back in zone. They run a little bit of games. Pressure gets out of it. Jumps forward. Oh! Will plays this game a little reckless. So Levis broke wide, started to scramble, knew he'd need about 7 yards. And he just said, F it, I'll just jump the last 3. You certainly get to see the athleticism there and some speed and quickness there. Jumps up, takes the hit, still sustains, still falls forward trying to get that yard. And it's going to be 4th and 1, but what effort by this kid. Just part of I mean, you can talk about protecting yourself, being more safe, but it's part of to me, it's part of the allure of this kid is the ballsiness with which he plays the position. 4th and 1. Timeout. Levis angry at the refs for kind of how they spun that clock a little bit fast. MSROS, maybe you should chill out a little bit. You mean trying to hurdle 3 guys to go into a double hit? Maybe it's not the smartest move for his quarterback. Oh, Big Country Bryce Young just made a hell of a play. Oh, my goodness. Tavion Robinson looks good. So many good players. So many. So we got a 4th and 2 here with the Florida-Utah game. 1:09 to go in the first quarter here. Anthony Richardson coordinating a well-run drive that's been worked mainly on the ground. Utah is bringing a big fat stacked box up to match Florida's big stacked box. Boy, this ain't Mario Cristobal, but geez Louise. Nice little misdirection there and a touchdown for Florida. Just a little throw into the flat for Anthony Richardson, but that was wide open. Wide open. And we got a 4th and 1 over here as well. Kentucky gets out to the line of scrimmage. Another low snap. And that ball is picked. Brother Will. And he's got a big bruise on his arm after that jump into the air. Not a good throw here. So first, this play goes right into the bucket from the jump. The snap's a little low. Levis just sort of decides he's going to make this throw prior. This is a little bit like a Drew Lock kind of play where he just decides he's going to throw it, then never really has a chance to recognize the defender's going to undercut the route, and that ball's picked off. Bad interception there by Will Levis. Very, very, very bad interception there by Will. It's hard when you have the short routes because you're sometimes throwing on time with the timing base, and he has a throwing lane that opens up there, and the guy from his throwing lane looks open. And some of it is that you've got the low snap coming there where your eyes have to go off of. You'd like to be keeping your eyes on the top the whole time, but then you got to change your eye level down and then try to come back up at the last second and make the throw out there. This wasn't a good decision making on the back of another bad snap. Oof. And Rook, I think he does need to chill out. That bruise looks pretty gnarly on his arm. Man, the Mariners keep just hitting home runs. It's crazy. Anthony Richardson, 7 of 10 for 72 yards tonight. 4 rushes for 29 yards. That was an awful interception by Levis there. That's just you're trying to make a play. It's 4th down. I guess then there is that with it then too. I should probably factor in, huh? I mean, it's a 4th down play. If you don't get it, it's a turnover on downs. So do you present this to the chat? Does that then open up a little bit more of the willingness at that point to make that throw, which is going to be a little bit, there might be a chance he undercuts this, but I'd still probably lean to no, but at the same point in time, maybe that should factor in a little bit to that particular play, I suppose. And the Kentucky Wildcats were able to quickly draw a punt here by Miami. So hopefully Will can come out here. And that's punted. Punt's blocked. Still manages to roll a little bit down the field. Wildcats special teams coming up there. Yeah, MSR says, no, don't make that throw. Yeah, I think you just can't. Because you don't know that he's not going to return that for a pick 6. You try to make that throw like that at a guy and you're not recognizing it, then not only is it a turnover and downs, but he's going to get up the football field and house it. Tell you what, Utah's trying to run the ball on the other side. A lot of old school ground game going on this Florida-Utah game. They might have 50 rushes between the two of them, or 75 rushes before the end of this game. Mariners are 2-0. I saw that. Looks good. It's real good. But that's enough for Robbie. But that's all Robbie needs. This Mariner team just keep going. Keep going. And Bryce Young's 4 of 5 for 21 yards to start out his day. A lot of little short passes, it looks like, for the most part. Alabama's playing the Utah State Aggies. Alabama always scheduling up the toughest opponents, aren't they? Always the creme de la creme. No softies on their schedule. No paper bags. And how they're putting together, nothing but prestige and the best of the best. Iron sharpens iron. Alabama sharpens Utah State. Yeah. They're cheesy for that. They're big cheesy for that. I know there's the whole, what's the playoff? Nick Saban would be like, the playoffs are just, that's the important part we got to think about. We can't be just having a fluke line. Yeah, okay. Got to prepare the team for the tougher games on the schedule. We play in the toughest conference. Okay. The country, they always have an easy opener. Yeah. I mean, Miami did the same thing with Bethune. Really, Miami? Bethune? Is that the best you could get on opening week? Bethune. Levis is back in the game. Throws a strike on an in-cutting route as he takes a hit in the pocket for a first down. Good toughness by Will there to hang in the pocket. Take the hit. Very nice throw there. He's hit a couple of these routes early on in the in-cutting routes where he really can put it on. Good sense of timing, and he can really put it to the spot. 1st and 10. We'll back under center here. We give us the running back. Not a lot of space with which to work, and is only able to gain a couple. Shotgun, 2nd and 8, 3 wide receivers. Levis drops back to throw. Finds his man center of the field. Hits him right in his hands. It's tight end. Got to catch that. Had a touchdown there. And it went right through the tight end's hands. Levis throws with a lot of steam. He's got pretty strong arm. But that kind of throw, he's got to put it in there and get it on you quick so you don't sustain the hit from the safety coming down over the top. So 3rd and 8 now. Levis back in shotgun, 3 wide receivers, trip sets to one side of the field. Now the tight end will come back in motion and better balance this off a little bit. Miami of Ohio stayed pretty much in front 4 this whole game. Pressure. Levis is taken down from the back. We do have a flag on the play too. Holding. Miami of Ohio declined. Or holding Kentucky, not Miami. So the tackle got beat there really fast around the edge. Will was looking through his progressions, couldn't find anybody. Kind of a coverage sack on that play. You'd like to see Will maybe get out of the pocket there a little earlier than that. So some good, some bad in this first opening week performance here from Will Levis. Hope he's not trying to press too much. Joy Del Rosario, Brandon, when did you become a Seahawks fan? Whew, Joey, I don't know, man. It goes back to my youth and childhood. You know, like I got this picture here. You can see my little chubby face there. That's like 85. I don't remember that picture. So I don't remember taking that picture. I'm not sure. I'm gonna say Joey 83. 83 seems like probably about the date. Drop top submarine. How's Levis looking? It's a little bit up and down right now. He started out really good. He had the first drive, took a team right up the field for a touchdown. Second drive also had the team driving up the field. Then had a really bad interception at the goal line. Just took a coverage sack. Been good, mostly I think good, but the interception is a hard one to overlook at this moment. You know, where it happened at the goal line like that. There's a little bit to it as well. It was fourth down on the play, so you're trying to make a play. It is just going to be a natural turnover on downs anyway. All the same, you really, as MSR said, you just can't make that throw. So some good, some bad. And Utah is doing a good job of driving against this Florida defense. Both these games on right now, they're both a lot of running for opening week. I'm going to get some more coffee. We'll be right back, folks. All right. It's like Utah's going to kick a field goal in their 7-7 game against Florida. So Richardson will get another chance. Up and through. Utah takes the lead, 10-7. Blaine Gabbert's younger brother comes out now. Ooh. Nice job by the defense there. Little hit on the running back. We got 9:05 to go here in Miami, Kentucky. It'll be second down for Miami. Kentucky's up 10-7. Again, Levis has played okay in this game. Certainly is a little bit of some up and down level nature. He's had a couple of drops as well. That certainly has factored in. He is currently 7-12 for 129 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. And he is definitely the 1984 Maverick equivalent of playing the quarterback position. I will say that. Gabbert, a little run and slide there for some yards. Nice throw by Gabbert, back shoulder there. Good little drive going here. Good little drive. A lot of hurry up in college. Mason Dale says, what am I watching the game on? I'm watching it on ESPN Plus. 1st and 10 now. Gabbert and shotgun. Just kind of threw that one away. I'm watching that one on Plus, and I'm watching the Utah-Florida game on Fubo. Crazy Utah. Looks like they're playing in Utah. It's crazy they talk Florida and open up their season in Utah. We feel like it's the other way around with where those programs are usually at. All right. Come on, Kentucky, get a stop. So Levis can come out and start balling out again. Oof. Nowhere to run there. Kentucky's defense odd. Some plays it looks like really good, and other plays they're just all look lost. When they're all on, like they're all there in the backfield. Interesting. The 3rd and 14 bubble screen. That's a good call, actually, when you think about it. You got 3rd and 14. You're on the 40-yard line. You want to get to like the 34, 33 just to get a field goal attempt because you're not going to probably complete the first down. You know the defense drops into the deep zones. Corners are probably playing off coverage. You throw the bubble, you got an easy 6 to 7 yards there. Get you back into field goal range. Maybe our Hawks could adopt a little bit of that. Still going to make a long kick here. Probably a 50-yarder. There we go. Right down and through. 10-10. Got ourselves a game. Miami of Ohio playing like the Miami Hurricanes. Oh, goodness. We've got ourselves a barn burner today, folks. Miami of Ohio is taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. And we got Anthony Richardson running a little bit of pistol formation here for Florida against Utah. 1st and 10. The give is in the running back. A lot of handing the ball off here. Lots of hander. Mason Dale says, too bad Caleb Williams doesn't come out this year because he looks box office. Yeah, that one's going to be a year out. I'm sure I'm going to hear a couple people in my chat, Mason, at the Hawks on the Hawks Nest telling me, no, we don't draft a quarterback this year because Caleb's coming out next year. So let's do that one. 2nd and 9. Again, a little bit of a pistol formation look. Again, another handoff. Boy, Florida's kind of running it dirty right now. Mucking it up on Utah. I don't know if they're trying to protect Anthony or if they're just kind of Ohio State right now is down 3-0 to Notre Dame. Richardson looks like he's added some good weight this offseason. Looks a lot more sturdier built than he did a year ago. He's got a 3rd and 12 situation after 2 real conservative play calls, and then they come back with a bubble screen that doesn't get much else. Interesting calls by the offensive coordinators for your the Florida Gators there. They're certainly not giving us a lot to go off of. Nitro, they're going to expand the college playoffs to 12 teams in a few years. It's a great move. I guess I'm with it. If you're going to do the playoffs, you might as well do the playoffs, right? And the playoffs are more about letting just the top 2 teams end up going at it. At that point, it's the playoffs. It's not about you just being one of top 2 teams that basically then sort of you get like one playoff game before you get to the inevitable. I like this a little bit. Adds a little bit of a difference too. We will look through this, I think, 2 different kind of historical lenses in the way it was before and the way it's done prior. But I mean, if you're going to go in, go all in. Don't go halfway. Stupid call. I don't like that call there. Me no likey. 6:10 left to go here in the second quarter of the Miami of Ohio Kentucky game. We'll see what Levis can do here coming off the bench, orchestrate another drive here to another long drive, and then they can pick up at the end of halftime so they get the ball back after halftime. It's going to be very interesting. I'm making an assessment on Levis this season if he plays with kind of this kind of wild nature of things where he puts up a prolific amount of stats, but then you also have the interceptions and a little bit of the wildness of play versus Jefferson, who may not have as much of the natural instincts at the position a bit, where the value's got to come in. But I think if play action pass, Levis rolling out, hit as he throws. Ball goes through the hands of the tight end. A lot of through the hands of in this game, too. Let's see if they'll show a replay that looked like it was probably a catchable pass. So we're going to have 2nd and 10. Levis in shotgun, 2 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end. Kind of a weird bubble screen they ran there. It's like a tight end screen, but a tight end bubble screen. But a delayed tight end bubble screen. Coach just trying to find Will some easy completions. This kid Wise from the Miami of Ohio team coming off the edge has been a bit of a problem for Kentucky in this game. They've had some serious issues dealing with him. 3rd and 10. Kentucky is 0 for 2 with third downs in this game. Levis coming under center here. Miami showing a blitz, falling out of it, running that stunt. Just a lot of quick pressure there. Second, he was to the back of his drop. There was already a guy in his kitchen sink. Whew. So, bumbling beginnings here a little bit. Big Country says pretty good move, but I think I'd prefer 8 teams. 10's a nice round number. Who will be the 10, the playoff 10? That's always just a good one to operate off of. 12 is a bit much. Nitro, March Madness has a great playoff format, but you definitely have to have football playoffs a lot smaller. Yeah, there's no reason to expand it really to 12 is too much. You can make an argument 10 is too much too. I mean, there's really like the top 5 to 6 teams every year at the most, really. But 8 makes sense. 8 makes sense because you could do 2 buys. 2nd and 11 now for the Utah and Florida game. Utah's again got the ball in that one. Mason says, I know you have Levis as your number 1 guy. Is that some of that projection, or do you think he's already better than Stroud and Van Dyke? Well, it's a lot of things, so it's not just that. I would say, Mason, there's other factors involved with looking at Levis, and especially last year's tape and where I had him. Again, the pro readiness factors in. I think Van Dyke and Stroud are right there as far as potentially being there pro ready. But what I saw off the tape last year with both those 2 guys, I wasn't as sure that they would be ready to go day one, which is part of where I have. I like the fact that Levis will be. I like the fact he's running our offense, which is also going to go a long way to aiding that ability to be ready day one to jump in. The other thing to remember with it too, Mason, is, as I said, last year's film, though I have that list where I have it initially, that's going to factor in at like about 15% versus this year's tape on where these guys go and where they're ranked and where they're rated. And if Levis comes out and he plays a smidge below where he played last year, he doesn't take the same step forward, which I think is going to be taken by KJ Jefferson and Stroud and Van Dyke. Well, then at that point, he's going to drop down on my list. He's not a fix there, no matter what happens this year is sort of what I'm saying. And so that's why I had him there before. I measured all of that with what the team's needs, with what I thought he had naturally from a talent standpoint, which is a really big live arm, great mechanics, good ability to scramble, very mobile, plays with a lot of guts, tends to put it on the receivers right where they can catch it and do some work with it after the catch. Certainly is a little bit not quite in on all those things here today to begin things, but that's what the tape was showing me last year. Stroud was right there behind him. And again, remember, with all those guys you mentioned, these are all guys I have in first round grades. So when it comes to like parsing between these guys and saying this guy's higher than that guy, they're all really highly rated prospects for my eye of things. And Stroud was right there with Levis. Levis just had him at the end of the day for me, just a bit more edged out because of the fact that I think he's played in a more pro ready offense. And I think that he's going to be ready day one, which I'm not as certain about with Stroud. Stroud may have some more top end to him. That's the same thing I would apply to KJ Jefferson. KJ Jefferson's got maybe some more top end potential to him. But I like the floor of what I'm getting out the gate with still some of the ceiling that does remain in Levis, unless he plays like he's played this game throughout the season. Then my opinion will change. So you got 3:49 to go here in the first half. Miami has the ball about the 38-yard line of Kentucky. Clock continues to roll here. A lot of short passes. Well, watching both these games in the corner of my eye, the Utah and Florida game and this Miami and Kentucky game, both of them are going where just a lot of short passes, bubble screens, running the ball a lot. Nobody's really opening it up necessarily. But I do think, Mason, the original question, I do think he's further along right now than those guys. Part of that, though, is also his age. He's going to be 24 this year. He's a little bit older than those guys. He's had a little bit more time in the oven to cook. Now, Mason says, what's your favorite position to scout? Mine's probably edge rushers or offensive tackles. It's a good question. 3rd and 6 here for, I'm thinking about it, by the way, for Gabbert's brother, playing Gabbert's brother. Kentucky's showing a blitz. He recognized the blitz, changes the call at the line of scrimmage. Kentucky stays in the blitz. No, they don't. Drop them out. Kentucky's on it, 4th down. What is my favorite position to scout? Yeah, I guess defensive ends would be probably the favorite for me. I guess that's where I would probably lean. I like watching a really good, like, we haven't had a lot of good tight end classes lately. You get like good complete guy that can do it all. You know, you got a lot of like try-hards or really rough prospects in recent drafts for the tight end position mainly. And that's always been one that's been fun for me to watch too, just because they have to do a variety of things at times. All right, Levis steps back out in the field here. A little bit of blood on his elbow. Let's see if he can salvage through this half a bit. It's a tie game here between Miami and Kentucky. 2 minutes, 4 seconds on the clock here in the first half. Levis in shotgun. Miami showing a blitz. Finds his man on a nice little comeback route. Second down. 2nd and 6, or 2nd and 4, I guess. They're going to go ahead and huddle up here. Kentucky's got 2 timeouts, but this is definitely going to run down the clock a bit here. Levis drops back to throw. He's going to take another sack here. Boy, he just kind of was anticipating that sack. He's had a couple here where it's just the guys just swallowed him up. He's not able to get out of the pressure or feel the pressure. He just sort of gets surprised by a guy on top of him all of a sudden. And look, the offensive line for Kentucky's not blocking great in that respective things, but sort of a strange sack. 3rd and 10. Again, drops back to throw. The ball's tips up into the air into his receiver's hands. Again, Levis takes a big hit. You can't look past the fact that he's under a lot of pressure in this first half. This is a Miami of Ohio team. Not a lot of time to sit back there and really feel things back there too much. Throws this one a little bit behind his receiver. It'll be 2nd and 10 with 33 seconds to go. It's part of why I do like Levis is that when he throws the ball, he can still have a guy hitting him and still throw it. Did get lucky there with the tip coming back to his player. But a little bit of the wildness of his play from last year still seems to be a pretty part of a component here. Again, though, he's just under so much pressure in this game. Every time he's dropping back to throw, he's got somebody in his face. 2nd and 10. Levis looking. Finds a man down the field. He's got a man with some space to work. Trying to turn the Jets on. Gets pushed out of bounds all the way up the field at the 25-yard line. Very nice throw there by Levis on a post route. That's one of those plays where I talked about hitting the receiver in stride to where that he can still then work with the ball after he makes the catch. He puts this right in his hands to where he catches it and goes. He goes from receiver to runner instantaneously. And if the ball's out front or it's away from him or he's behind him, that's where the guy's got to then, angle back for the catch and then comes down to a dead stop, halt, making the catch, dragged down instantaneously versus getting that yak yardage. 24 seconds from the 29-yard line. Hill, Levis back in shotgun. Goes out to the flat. He's now under a little bit back into his rhythm here that we saw a little earlier on here. It's his running back smoke to the flat route for a nice little 10-yard gain, and 19 seconds remain. Kentucky has still preserved their 2 timeouts on this drive. This will be 2nd and 1. Who's calling a timeout? Tell me that my coach didn't just call a timeout there. I think that's Miami of Ohio called that one. I'm angry at my coach if he calls that as the timeout. I'm like, what are you doing? Big Country says Brock Bowers looks really good. Unfortunately, he's a year out. Yeah, I like Bowers. That's a Georgia tight end, right? He's got some Gronk to his game. Absolutely, definitely has some Gronk to his game. All right, Levis is going to come back out now with 19 seconds to go. See if Levis can get this done. He's got enough time on the clock here with the 2 timeouts. He does have a good amount of field position to go get there. You got about probably 3 plays, even with the timeouts. They're at about the 19-yard line here. 3 wide, Levis in shotgun. They're going to hand the ball off. And then call a timeout, of course. Yeah, that was a dumb call. Big Country, yeah. Okay, I was right on that. Yeah, Bowers he was standing out in the national title game last year. Like, he was definitely in that one. You're like, well, my goodness, this guy can play. He can do it all too. That's one of those tight ends that, Mason was asking about what I like to scout. Like, if I get to scout that type of guy, watch him at the college level, just making those guys look like children out there at times. It's good stuff. Flag Sabbath, Zach Charbonnet had a good day too. He's my running back 2 at the moment. So I got the kid out of Texas. The kid out of Texas is my running back 1, but Zach would be running back 2 right behind him. 2 different style of runners, but two very impressive guys. Both might have an outside chance of pushing to be first-round picks. Looks like CJ Stroud's ready to step forward here in this Notre Dame game. There's a nice little out route. Some good zip on it. Allows his receiver to get in there for a touchdown. And Bryce Young says tit for tat. Throws a little slant route for a touchdown in the Utah State game. Alabama's up 17-0 there. We got 1st and goal here with Kentucky. 6 seconds remaining here. Sorry, I just missed the action a little bit. Will Levis managed to throw the ball just as he was getting hit once again, finding his receiver out in the flat to get some yardage and make what looked like a treacherous play turn into something good. Boy, every time he's dropping back there, he's got somebody right in his face. That's going to be something to monitor this year. Again, going to factor into the evaluation and looking at him. 1st and goal. Levis just whips this one through the back of the end zone. Smartly done on his part. Guy wasn't open. You got 6 seconds. So if the first read isn't there, you've got to throw that ball away as a quarterback to preserve the time so you can at least get the field goal. Very well done by Will there. And Anthony Richardson making some good throws here in the Utah game. Florida's driving up the field. They're about the 50-yard line, 1st and 10. Down 13-7 here to the Utah. The Utes. The Utes, Your Honor. The Utes. Did you say Utes? Yeah. The Utes. And Kentucky does hit the field goal to end the half here. So Will Levis Will Levis gave you a little bit of the full Will Levis experience in this first half. 13 of 21, 205 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He probably had about 4 drops from his receivers in that first half, which is going to impact a little bit of that accuracy. And Richardson out in the open field now. He's got a lot of room to work, and he is live and moving, and he might make it in, folks. He does. Breaks an open field tackle and gets in. Wow. Impressive run by Richardson, like a 45-yard dash. Had our defender at the end heads up against him and gave him a little swivel move, and he just lost the defender. Very well done by Anthony Richardson. But this Will Levis half is a bit of a tough assessment, just to a bit of a degree. And it's tough because the interception looms large, but he's got a lot of good play around that interception. It's the interception and where it's happening at. He's had a couple of sacks that he's taken that were kind of just bad sacks where he just seemed to not be ready for the pressure that was coming. Some of it just he's had miserable pass protection this first half. And if that Kentucky offensive line is making Miami of Ohio look like the 88 Eagles Buddy Ryan defense, then it's going to be a long year for Levis to try to show that he can shine within that. He's already had a couple of throws in this game where he's made the throw and literally gotten the hell beat out of him the second he let go of the ball. That's got to be a thing that's going to rise up on this a little bit as we go through and look at it. And it's, again, a part that you got to factor in, because you look at a team like Alabama or Ohio State, Stroud and Young are not going to be playing behind the same kind of pass protecting difficulties that this guy looks like he's going to have to be playing behind. I saw it last year. It's one of the reasons I thought that the Georgia game, Levis was as impressive as any, because of the fact that he was able to do what he did, which wasn't a lot, but do what he did with being under siege every other play. And that's a bit of what you saw in this first half from that Kentucky offensive line. And Richardson tonight, 10 of 13, 101 yards, 5 carries for 74 yards. Looking very dynamic, like we thought coming into this season. And Utah is 7th ranked. Florida is unranked in this game. It's going to open up some eyes. Mason says, why don't you think tight ends are valued highly in the NFL? Theoretically, outside of quarterbacks, they should have the most impact on offense. It's a good question. I think that they're not rated as highly, Mason. Part of their lessening has been at the rise of receivers. So receivers have been able over the last 15 years to take some of the shine off tight ends. They're not asked to run block as much, which has taken some of the shine off of them. And really now the ones that stand out are the ones that almost operate from a hybrid standpoint, where they can be almost a pseudo wide receiver, and that's how they can then draw their acclaim a little bit. The other thing with it too, Mason, is I just don't think there's as many of them rattling around. Like, the receiver position is a very deep one. I think it's hard to find guys that are 6'4", 6'5", tough. You know, that it just, you look at the last couple of drafts stand out to me, Mason. I'm talking the last 3 or 4 drafts. I go through and it's, man, the tight end positions are just, woof. I mean, this last one, there was not one guy you looked at and said is even close to being first round value. Well, you know, one of the guys that was one of the highest ones taken, Trey McBride, you looked at that and you went, why? What is it you guys are seeing here? I see like a 3rd round tight end here in this guy. And I feel like NFL teams were getting kind of desperate in the way they looked at this last draft in that way, where there just was, it's been a couple years of bad tight end play where it's like, well, this guy can at least do all the stuff. So there's that. And it's just, there's not as many good ones, I think. And so it's been a position where it's just thought that there are a lot of guys, you know, a lot of Jags, just another guy type players at the position. And yeah, you'll have your Kelseys and your Gronks. You'll have a couple guys in there that are game changers at the position, but Blue Jays are beating the Pirates. Flag says, I know we took Walker, but if Charbonnet was there with our 2nd round pick, I'd take him. The ball's bounced. Back-to-back years with second-round running backs. I mean, I'm not adverse, man, to taking a running back in the second round. I'm not. I'm not on that. I'm not at flag at all on that fence as far as saying I want to be anti that. And on the surface of it, I don't want to just make arbitrary rules where I say I'm not back-to-back years going to draft a second-round running back under any circumstances, because there will always be circumstances. Zach is certainly talented enough to be potentially a fringe first-round talent you're then getting in the second round, a la a little bit of what happened with Walker this year in this draft. You're going to want to you're going to want to run the ball a lot moving into the future. And that's probably going to rely on more than just one running back in the backfield to get that done. But you are passing on some good players now to take these two running backs in back-to-back years. And some of that has to be in this evaluation process. Who are the other two guys we're passing on these 2 years for these running backs? And is the offset better going at those players rather than taking a running back here? And, I could be talked into it, man. I on the surface of it, I'd be a little bit hesitant, just a little bit hesitant. In the last, 3 years, you got a first-round running back, you got a second-round running back, you got a fourth-round running back, got a seventh-round running back. We've already kind of put a lot into the position over the last few years, especially on the high end. I might try and look elsewhere, maybe. But again, I could be talked into it. MSR Anthony Richardson looks like the best quarterback today so far. Holy, he's built like a defensive end. Yeah, he's a big boy. But he moves really well for his size. He's got a little bit of shades of kind of Lamar to his mobility. Not as sudden, not as cheetah-like quick, but he is definitely standing out. And we can't denounce, I mean, MSR is probably factoring into your evaluation of it, but you can't sell short the fact that he's doing this against Utah. This is the 7th ranked defense in the league right now, or not in the league, but in college football here to begin things. So teams, it's a bit tougher than what, let's say, Levis has to go against here with Miami of Ohio. $15 is such a weird jersey number for a football player. Big Country Cam Newton might be a better comp. I just don't feel Cam. I'm not in the Cam spot of it. Partly too, because we already got a guy in this draft in KJ Jefferson that's he's a Cam clone. I mean, he looks just like Cam, body style, everything. This kid's got a little more, I don't know. He's a little more, he's not as tight in the hips, a little more swivelly, a little more smoother, I would say, of an athlete. Cam was a great athlete for his size. Like somebody that big shouldn't move like that, but Richardson's got a, he had a lot of weight this offseason, though. He was like, I thought, a little more rail-like last year. He's definitely been in that weight room. He's got some good size. So the thing I wanted to see from Bryce Young this year is like, well, okay, if you're going to be a little undersized, at least get a little bit thicker. We'll get to halftime. Florida up 14-13 here on Utah. But a well-played half by Anthony Richardson, definitely standing out. All of the young guys that we're tracking and monitoring so far here out the gate in this first college game, nobody has fallen on their face. Everyone's looking pretty sharp to begin things out. Very encouraging to see. Mariners up 2-0 at the end of the fourth. And that's encouraging to see too. MSR, he looks like a buffer Lamar who throws with more accuracy. Perfect. That's exactly the way I'd present it. I just get more Lamar vibes, but not as like rail thin. I don't want to just, he has that same kind of, there's a little bit of that easy acceleration, that same ability in the open field to break tackles. There's just something a little bit more, a little more closer to that from a comp standpoint, but definitely a bigger, thicker guy than Lamar, not Lamar, build. Oh, damn. What a question. What a catch by Notre Dame kid. Falling down, tips it up with his right hand, tips it with his left hand, flipping in the air, falling on his back, brings it into his frame on his back. Notre Dame giving Ohio State all they can handle here so far. They're up 10-7 in that game. So Stroud not necessarily lighting up against Notre Dame. You know who did light up was Georgia against Oregon today. Phil Knight's going to take all of the shoes away after that game. Nikes are for winners. I so wanted this kid McConkey, who's the Georgia receiver. I so wanted him to be the son of Phil McConkey, the New York Giant receiver. Speaking of tipped balls, had a tip touchdown catch back in the day. I guess they're not related though, so there goes that dream. McConkey. He was everywhere for Georgia. Skinnier Josh Allen. Oh. Are you saying Josh is thick? Oh, goodness. Showing Caleb Williams highlights here. Flag Sabbath, why hasn't Seattle brought Blake Martinez in? Maybe he wants a couple $1 million. Quite honestly, I've been, with me Flag, I've been looking at the middle linebacker position since the start of training camp going, what's the plan here? What are we doing here? What's the next, where's this going? And it's continued to only get thinner as a position. I still remain that I'm not sure as to what's going on with it. And my latest big idea, my latest theory on this is that the Seahawks are going to run a lot more Jamal Adams from the middle linebacker position, potentially both in dime and nickel, than we've seen here in Seattle. And if that's the case, then there's less of a need to have as much depth there at the position. But I would imagine with Blake, it's money first would be my first wonder on that Flag. Does he want to come and play for veteran minimum, number one? Number two, is he expecting to go find a place where he actually has a legitimate chance to start versus coming here and being a backup? Is he ready to make that transition at this point in his career? And then the third thing is that any veteran that's on the roster after week one has their full salary guaranteed throughout the course of the year. Versus if you wait till after week 2 to pick him up, Flag, then theoretically you can get out from under the deal after a couple of weeks if you don't like what you're seeing out there. And there's obviously a reason at this point that he's being released by a Giants team that's not exactly stacked front to back, defensively speaking, or even from a team standpoint. MSR Rooks, it says, yes, a very Midwestern build. That's very, very BC of you to put it that way, MS Rook. Mr. Kane, been watching MMA all day. How is Levis looking? Mostly good, Mr. Kane. There was a very, very, very painful interception early on in that first half at the goal line. But aside from that, he's been pretty good. 3 for 200 yards and a half. Had some very, very good throws. His offensive line is just getting him beat all to hell. So it's, there's a little bit of a mixed bag aspect of this to a degree, but overall I've been pretty impressed by what I've seen from him overall. But I'd like to see him close up this second half with a little bit more consistency. Big Country says, oh my God, Yankees are collapsing like the 95 Angels. They are, aren't they? Did they lose again today? Are they going to miss the playoffs? Yankees are now 79-53. Tampa Bay's 5 games out. I don't know if they're going to miss the playoffs, but boy, if they did that, that'd be incredible. It's possible still. Because once you drop behind Tampa Bay at that point, you got Toronto coming up behind. And remember, big country, they're going to have to all play each other, right? So if it's not like the Yankees can go feast on a crappy bottom feeder teams and hope they can get the wins that way to be able to offset it. They gotta go out and play their own division. That's really tough. Mason Dale says, I don't care how bad our middle linebackers are as long as I never have to see Al Woods in coverage again. I guarantee you will never see Al Woods in coverage ever again. Never again. They learned their lesson on that one. I hope. God, I hope. Please, God. Don't do it again. Mariners are still up in their game, 2-0. It's good to see. And when we come back here for second half pretty soon here. Gonna get a little water here, folks. Bear with me for just 2 seconds. All right, folks. Let's see how we get back here second half. Let's see what we got going on. I think the Cardinals might be the worst defense in the league this year. Oh, Mason. They certainly get, it's weird how we get just banged for our roster and losing. We're like how bad we supposedly are, versus, they seem to get a pass in a lot of respects. And they're showing some highlights of KJ Jefferson here. He throws a nice back shoulder throw. There's no doubt. I threw it into three. There's three guys in coverage. He managed to get it in there. Oh, Kentucky got him. Let's see what KJ. A lot of number 1 jerseys in that Arkansas stadium. KJ getting a lot of love, as he should. Does a pump action, comes back right. I like that, KJ. All right. I see you, KJ. I see you, KJ. Cardinals is the worst defense, Mason. It's an interesting thought. Who's else are in our you got Houston. I think the Texans are in that contention. They're going to run the ball a lot. The one thing about the Cardinals offense is it does put its defense in some tough territories as far as you can get some 3 and outs. when they're not moving the ball. And that leaves that defense on the field for a long period of time. I mean, the Bears defense is pretty bad too. I might have an argument to make that the Bears defense is worse. I'd probably put Bears and Texans as a bit worse. But they're not good, and they should be in the 25s and deeper on. You're right. J.J. Watt is about all they've got on that side of things. And boy, as history has shown recently, he just keeps seemingly playing less and less games every year. That's a good point. There's a long halftime for Kentucky and Miami of Ohio, and they're taking their sweet time. Why does the coach need to have an armed guard when he walks on the field? Is it that serious? Seven games might be generous. This is a big country. Carolina Panthers have a good defense. I don't think they got a bad defense. They got a good defense. Brian Burns, Derek Brown. They got the shin guy, the safety guy's pretty good. Shaquille, the old UW linebacker out there. They got some cornerbacks, Henderson, Horn. And they draft another guy too. They were pretty good on that. I hope the Yankees do collapse. It would make our road easier, big country. I was starting to watch the Jeter documentary on ESPN. It was so nice being able to watch the 95 moment inside of that. Like this little Mariner fan moment that you get to have in this Jeter documentary. And they spent like a pretty good amount of time on it, even though he didn't even play in the series. But it was so like, it was so nice watching it from their perspective and just knowing how much all of them were like, it was just, we felt so horrible after that game. And it was just be like, yeah, burn Yankees. Mason, as much hate as Gino gets from certain fans, I really hope we can keep around next year as a reliable backup. I'm open to it, Mason. I'm not open to it at $7 million for $7 million reasons, though. I'm not going to spend $7 million that we're paying this year for him. So he's going to have to take a much, much lower deal if he wants to remain on. But then I'm open to it. Definitely. Do the Panthers still have Gilmore? No, as Big Country says, Nitro Hawk, the Indianapolis Colts signed him to a free agent deal. Played pretty well for the Panthers when he went to him last year, but the Panthers felt good about their situation because they were getting J.C. Horn back from the torn ACL. And then they were also going to get, they had C.J. Henderson kind of brought up to speed based on what I'm hearing from them. They like how he's playing out there on the outside too. So wasn't really a spot for Stephon Gilmore. Oh, I just missed a play here in the Kentucky game, of course. Wow, they were taking forever to. Did he just house it on the opening kickoff return? Is that what he did? Is that why I missed it? You know, it looks like a kickoff return by Kentucky to open things up here in this half. Ah, dang it. I want to see Levis. I mean, good on you, Kentucky, but kid takes it a yard deep in his own end zone. Finds a lane, good speed. Wow, he kicked up the speed there, man. He caught that edge. Punter had an angle, it looked like, on him, and he just said, no, I got an extra gear here. He almost dropped that ball before going to the end zone. That old move. I wish I could have accelerated like that when I was younger. I was so slow, dude. Those guys just. I wish I could have. That number 2 is a rookie, right? Looks pretty good. Which rookie are you talking about? Which number 2? As I know it's a long ways, but by the time the season is over, what veteran quarterbacks would you predict are available to trade for, if any? I think Lamar Jackson has a really good chance of being available after this year, Mason. The fact that they're not going to get a deal done and he's doing the, I think it's going to lead to them eventually after this year going, okay, we'll just go ahead and trade you to a team that's willing to bring you on, and we're good with this at this point. That would be my guess. Other than him, I think Kirk Cousins would have a chance of being on the open market if it fails badly there in Minnesota. There's a lot of talk, and I think Minnesota is potentially going to be one of the more surprised teams this year out of the NFC, in that they seem to have a lot of like general good feeling and will just from the fact that they have moved on from that head coach that I guess was a big problem there or something, you know. The Kentucky receiver, by the way, they're reviewing the tape because the kick returner dropped the ball as he was walking into the end zone. I never understand why those guys just can't hold on to the ball all the way in until you're like 3 strides in and then do your cool drop move. Do your cool, like, this, what is this thing in my hand? I'm just going to drop it like it's just trash on a park or something. Like, it's such a bad look when it happens to you, and it's like a national embarrassment. Mr. Kane, sorry, kid that just scored. Well, that explains it, Mr. Kane. Maybe he is a freshman. He is freaking fast. Oh, dude, he he did the Deshaun Jackson. For you, those that remember the Deshaun Jackson move, they're going to give him a touchdown, but he totally just Deshaun Jacksoned his way through that. Or as we saw with DK Metcalf, this happened to him a couple of years ago with Trayvon Diggs. And oh, Lordy. Jason Wilson, what's the score just got here? So Kentucky just went up now. What'll be 20-10 if the extra point will go through to begin things here in the third quarter. Levis has been a little bit up and down, mostly good this game, but some down. Drop Top Submarine says, what's my thoughts on the Georgia quarterbacks? Then, I mean, he's a gamer. He's a quintessential, to me, great college quarterback. I don't see a pro quarterback there. Maybe a guy that could break in as a second or third string guy. He reminds me a little bit of like a more mobile version of Kellen Moore at Boise State. Like if you put Kellen Moore on a, great college football team and great college football offense, he's probably going to be putting maybe more stats. This kid's probably along the same lane of things. So he's really small. He's 5'11". He's not really thickly built. As many of you know, have been listening to me lately on this issue. I'm starting to get a little bit prejudicial towards quarterbacks that are of real slight stature. Not only in that they're like 5'11", but when you look at their build as well, you can just tell that they're not thickly built. They're not built like guys that are going to be able to handle 250-pound guys that run 4.6 hitting them full speed, or 310-pound linemen falling on them on a consistent basis. So I just don't think he's going to have enough in that respect. He'll be a fringe guy on the edge of things as far as making the league. But there's such a long track record of these kind of guys that ball out in college that just don't have enough natural physical gifts to be able to hold up at the NFL level. And again, I call it the Russell Wilson effect, where I feel like this is opened up. The floodgates of this have opened up over the years because of the success of a Wilson, for teams to really now go outside of what they would have looked at as more of kind of mandates for the position from a size standpoint. which they were wrong from just having the blind mandates that they did, which is what caused Wilson to drop as far as he did. But in my opinion, now there's been a bit of an over course correction situation going on here. Man, Richardson can scoot. Wish I could. I got to find a comp for Richardson, though. Still got to figure out a comp for him. I can't. They're showing the pictures of these two guys. It's funny. 2nd and 6 now for Gabbert. 14-18 to go on the clock here in the second half. Kentucky has him hemmed up, and he breaks free. Oh, fumble! Ball's knocked into the defender's hand. He's up the field. Almost scores at that one. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. 2nd and 6. Things starting to turn here a little bit for Kentucky now. Jason Wilson, thank you, brother. Hey, anytime, Jason. Looks like they're going to start to take this one and run away with it. Mr. Gain, has Levis done anything to change your thoughts on him, positive or negative? I don't see a forward progression from what he was last year quite yet at this point. He's had two things that are impacting this in sort of his favor in a way that doesn't have anything to do with his play necessarily. Number one, there's been a decent amount of drops in this game from his receivers, where they've had two hands on the ball and they've just dropped it. And then number two, there's been obviously some spots in this game where the offensive line just can't hold up. If it's a situation where the defense knows that Levis is throwing 3rd and long, 3rd and 12, he does not have an offensive line that can pass protect for any amount of real given time. And he's getting hit a lot, which is going to make it. I mean, here again, he does a play action here, and he's got a guy in his face instantaneously right out of the jump, just right out of the jump, and he grounds it. But there's just a lot of pressure in this game on him right now. He's already got a bruise on his shoulder. He's got a bruise on his elbow, a little blood on his other elbow. He's definitely been beaten up and battered a little bit in this game, more than I would like to see. Jason says, I picked the University of Kentucky to go at least 11-2 this year if they go undefeated. Oh, Lord, laughing out loud. They look pretty good today. They're definitely looking better now. That offensive line pass protection would be my main worry with them, because the schedule is going to get tougher for them. And that's a great job there by Levis. Touchdown on a little post route there in the end zone. Very well done. He looked to his first read to his left, came back to his second read on his right on the post route, and again is unveiling a little bit of that arm strength on these type of throws where he can really whip it in there and whip it in there with some accuracy. Here you see, goes right soft. He holds the safety. It's very subtle, but what you see off of the read option is that he holds the safety to the left side of the field on the read option, because he's not obviously looking at the running back, but what he's doing is he's showing the safety, I'm looking to the tight end here. So he's telling the safety, I'm going tight end, which pulls that safety. It's only a couple steps. Doesn't make the safety run to the other side of the field. It just pulls the middle of the field safety over to one side of the field just a little bit, which then opens up that backdoor post route on the play, which he then completes greatly on that throw. Very nice. Well done by Will Levis. All set up there on the fumble. But if they can get themselves in situations, Jason Wilson, where they are not having to throw the ball and teams know they're throwing the ball and they can maintain balance, he's going to be in a lot better position. Not because he can't throw it long or make those throws, but because I just don't think the pass protection is going to hold up for him with this line this year. What I'm seeing, it's like, this is Miami of Ohio. And if you're making this look like the steel curtain defense of the late 70s Steelers, then how is Georgia going to look? How are the bigger dogs going to look who've got those hunters on the defensive line? Thank you for subscribing, though. Mason Dale, I didn't see the pick. Was it Levis's fault? It was Levis's fault. It was short stick routes, comeback routes, and he predetermined prior to the snap where he was going to go with the ball. He threw it without seeing any of it. Some of that you have to do on short routes. Some of it was also, Mason, that it was a 4th down play. So if he doesn't complete the play, it's a turnover on downs anyway. I would wonder if I asked him in an interview, if I said on that throw, was that factoring into your decision making there to try to just whip that ball in there, because of the fact that you knew that if it does get picked, so what? Turnover on downs. I can't guarantee that's what he was thinking. Still was a horrible throw though, and you don't like seeing interceptions down by the goal line. MSR says Wilson's also built like a tank. Exactly. I think that's why he's consistently, purposely over years. People give Wilson a hard time about being fat Wilson in the offseason, but I think actually a lot of it is purposeful from his standpoint, because he understands he's got to keep himself thickly built a little bit to be able to handle all that stuff I just talked about, the punishment that the NFL season brings you. And if you are a little bit of a lighter guy, you might be light and lean and, it all looks good in your jersey, but at the end of the day, does it give you that layer of protection you need to be able to sustain? These are big boys, and big boys running fast with bad intentions. And you need more than a 5'11" build with little frail ankles like Matt Corral had, or the little arms like Stenson's got. $4-0 Mariners. Thank you, Big Country, for the update. Let's go, M's. Let's go, M's. Middle of the fifth. Robbie Ray getting stronger as the year goes along. Gilbert finding his second win this year. Castillo being absolute nails. Like to see it. And Mason, it was an ugly interception by Levis. It's on the goal line. It's one of those ones where he gets the quarterback lane to throw to the right side. It opens up. And he lets it rip because he thinks he's got a wide view of the guy wide open comeback. But the linebacker is from the jump. The linebacker's driving on the route. He just didn't see any of it. Then Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson might have been the best Russell Wilson, but I think that thin Russell Wilson probably gets injured a little bit more. He needed that extra meat on his bones to make it through, especially with Tom Cable was our offensive line coach. Ba-dum-boom. All right, let's see what goes on here now. We got Kentucky is up 27-10 here on Miami of Ohio, 13:58 to go here in the third quarter. This game slowed down here suddenly. It was going really fast that first half, but it's definitely hit some breaks here now. I like this Miami of Ohio running back. Boy, he's good. Runs strong, runs hard. Good player. I don't know if he's an NFL prospect, but just a good player. Mason says Russ is looking to be a stuffed turkey. That's right. 2 weeks he'll be 1 week he'll be a stuffed turkey. Nitro says we should cut Russ some slack. He had to deal with Aaron Donald for so long. Hey, I'd get a thing too, man. You guys would be catching shots of me with my whole head in a pint of ice cream every offseason. I'd just be pulling it out with like milky, wet ice cream coming off my chin. Like, it's for Donald. Lay off me. Lay off me. It's for Donald. I got to sustain. I got to sustain. I wouldn't blame him in the least, man. He's trying to kill me out there. Do you see that guy? And we got to admit at this point, Aaron Donald's the best defensive player of his generation. Maybe one of the best defensive tackles that's ever played this game. Maybe the best defensive tackle to ever play this game. But the man is a psychopath. Let's just be real with it. Let's just be absolutely on point with this. The man is a psychopath. And when you see him, those two helmets, and he's swinging with force. Just the only thing that's saving Donald on that video, by the way, is the fact that it's not a clear and present angle like you had the Myles Garrett shot, where it's like he's coming down on slow motion, high def, good cameras of NBC, Monday Night Football, and that thing's coming right down on the just. Well, you got Donald in that, and he's throwing with much more force, two at a time. And he's going to get away with that. But the memes from that have been awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen, there's the meme of him where somebody got a shot of him with the two helmets from the back. and then they cut that out and then overlaid it on the Game of Thrones shot where Jon Snow's waiting for the army to charge him, like he's taking on the army all by himself as the lone guy. The memes have been awesome. The memes have been amazing. And look, Donald might be the best defensive tackle that's played the sport. I mean, he's got a very good argument to be made. There's been some very good defensive tackles. There's not been, I would say, the Jim Brown of left tackles that like gets mentioned as sort of that gets mentioned as the guy that is the true like measure and standard for the position. Certainly Joe Green is maybe kind of that guy, and people will talk about John Randall or Warren Sapp or a couple other guys in there. But to me, my money at the end of the day, I think if you really went through it, unless you wanted to go to one of those old school defensive linemen from the 60s or 70s, Bob Lilly types or whatever, I think you could make a really good argument. He's number one. Alan Page, yeah. There were some good ones back in the day, and those guys had to do work. They had to do a lot more. They had to do a lot of work. They didn't just do the pretty pass rushing stuff all the time. So it is a little hard to make this gauge on the defensive line for how the different ages of football the game has been played and what was more valued versus now what's valued. Because if there's one spot you can point to on Donald, it's like if you are going to attack him and you don't want to do a double team, then you want to just try to run right at him. It's the one thing you can maybe say with him. Perhaps. And Miami of Ohio is still driving the ball here. Blaine Gabbert just threw himself face first into the turf and got landed up on there. Very lucky he's not injured. Both these quarterbacks playing pretty gutsy football here. Miami getting a nice little drive going here. Good little drive. Nitro says it's a great thing in football is Aaron Donald's life, Lord knows where he would be. Big Country says, I think Donald ended up being number one, though. I haven't given this a lot of thought, but I think you've got to make an argument that he probably is at this point, don't you? And once he gets the Super Bowl, and not only does he get the Super Bowl, but I mean, I know Cooper Kupp won it. You could really say in a lot of ways, like he sort of like how Malcolm Smith won the MVP in the Seahawks Super Bowl, but it was really Cam Chancellor that was really the one who probably should have won it. You could say the same thing about last year's Super Bowl and that Donald probably should have won it, even though Cooper Kupp won it. Cooper Kupp was worthy, but I think you could make a strong argument. And I'm looking at this Kentucky schedule. This ain't that hard. Florida, Ole Miss, and then Georgia later in the year. I don't know if you're still in here, Jason, but that's a good bet, man. I didn't realize their schedule was that easier this year. It's not easy, but it's not as bad as I thought. They got 21 Ole Miss and 3 Georgia on the schedule. That's a good bet, man. You're gonna win some money there on that. You're gonna win some bones on that one. And Blaine Gabbert's brother's got this Miami of Ohio team driving up the field here. 11:06 on the clock. Kentucky showing a stacked front. They're bringing a little 5-man pressure look. It's going to go deep. Throws it out of bounds. It's going to get bailed out by the refs. Emazar says, I've been saying for a few years now, people say Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. In my opinion, it's been Donald and still is Donald. I think I would have said, I think I'm going to agree with you on that, MSR. I think I would say the same thing. I've seen a lot of games of the Rams outside of just us playing the Seahawks and Rams and just him and what he does to teams. I've got a picture. I wish I could show it right now, and I'll show it at some point where there's this one picture I've got from a Dolphins game of them blocking Donald. It's a pass play, and you have four offensive players by the Dolphins that are all trying to pass protect Donald on a single play. And not casually, they're like, one of them's got a hand up here, like they're all actively engaging him in pass protection alone. And I've seen him wholly wreck offensive game plans all on his own throughout the course of a whole game at times. I agree. I think you can make that argument. It's always, well, you got to give it to a quarterback. I don't know. I don't know, especially when you have a guys we're talking about the position who might very well be the number one best player that's ever played that particular, best 3 tech that's ever played the position. Mason Dale says, my 3 wishes for the season: beat Denver, sweep the Niners, DK Moss's Ramsey. What are yours? My 3 wishes for this year would be beat Denver, get to the playoffs, and Denver sucks. Those are my 3 wishes. I don't ask for a lot. But that would be what I would want. Because it would be so tasty for us to have a Denver top 5 pick and we get in the playoffs. And then we have Denver's top 5 second round pick as well. That's just too juicy. All right. So Miami of Ohio is down 10-27 here to Kentucky. In Kentucky, they have 2nd and goal with 10 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Play action. Looking. Ooh, look like a little PI there. Yep. We got to call. That one's legitimate. The last one was a little bit suspect, but that one's not suspect. Drop top submarine. I don't think the NFL is going to suspend Aaron Donald for the 2 helmet assault. I don't either. The best comparison that I've put up, I've put on the internet for this, is somebody was relating it to like international waters. Aaron Donald was essentially swinging 2 helmets in international waters, and there is no law in international waters. So he's going to slide out of that one. And he still is he's a great player, but he still is a psychopath. I mean, that's what makes him a great player, right? I mean, that's part of the secret sauce. Could be. Gabbert's got 2nd and goal. It's a hot night down there in Kentucky. The boys are all just sweaty. What are we doing? All right. And Anthony Richardson's moving the Florida Gators up the field there on the other side. And they got a penalty flag. A couple of good games going on here. Florida's giving Utah all they can handle. All they can handle. Mr. Kane, I'll be watching when Florida and Kentucky play for sure. Levi versus Richardson. Either one, I'm good with being the future Seahawks quarterback. I'm completely open-minded at this point. I've got an early list here, but I'm not going to be married to this list. And it could very well change over the course of the year. And I've really been interested on what Richardson has to offer. Tough part about making an assessment on him last year was just he only had those 47 attempts. They just didn't let him do much last year. But he's looking good in this game. He's got a 3rd and 11 here, 5:33 to go on the clock. Right around midfield here for Florida. See what the call is. Rolling around, looking, waiting. Almost throws an interception there. One thing with Richardson is when it's a little more scripted stuff watching the 2 of these guys going back to back, where there's a little bit more of the scripted stuff in there with Florida, where it's a little more, here's a bubble screen here, here's a little throw out to there, here's a little toss there. You get him a situation like this where he's got to kind of sit in the pocket now and go through his reads a little bit more. And there's a little bit more you can see of a slower processing going on, just a little bit. Still playing really well in this game, don't get me wrong, but so I've been watching a little out of the quarter of my eye there. MSR, am I the only one who wants Russ to throw for 600 yards a game, but put up a bunch of points and still lose by 50 each game because his defense sucks? Whatever it takes for me, MSR. However the losses met themselves out, if he's got to throw for 1 trillion yards, but they still lose, fine. Let Russ get his little individual glory. Let him shine in his little spot on the field. Mr. Kane says, I feel you on the slower process with Richardson. Yeah, he's more dynamic than Levis in the open field with his legs, and he's definitely got good strong arm, and he can make some throws here. But I think you're going to bring in initial read here on Richardson here and watching this game with him is you're going to need to do a little bit more stuff of kind of fitting. It's a little bit more of the less of, okay, the guy just acclimates to our offense 100% versus, okay, he acclimates 80%. And then we got to bring on 20% of stuff that we really lean into and do. That's more about what he does well now, which I'm okay with. That's how it is with modern quarterbacks. That's how it is with any player you bring in, honestly. It's like you want to have some of it fit to you want to fit somewhat to what they do well. But that's part of why I like Levis too, is it's grabbing a guy that you don't have to do as much of that on. You're bringing a guy in that fits to what he's done prior exactly. What he does well is what you want him to do, ideally. And Gabbard's got this team at 3rd and goal here on a very long drive here by Miami of Ohio. This game is really slowed down in this second half. Boy, Kentucky's 14 cornerback, Valentine. He's got a very nice, sweet name, but he's not very nice on the. He's very grabby out there. Very, very grabby. Big Country says, yeah, you have to have a screw loose to play the defensive tackle position. You do, man. You do. Especially everything when you got 2 guys beating on you a lot of times every play, and you still got to fight through that. It takes a mindset that requires that kind of doggedness. Defensive players have that in general versus offensive players more at the time anyway. It's just a requirement to get the deal done. You got to take grown-ass men and pull them down get them off their feet. You can't. Nice guys don't pull that off. Mason, I think the most disappointing thing this season would be if the offense and defense don't change much schematically. It would solidify the idea that Carroll is holding us back. Yes, 100% it would. And it would limit whatever talent you've added to this team in total would be limited by the lack of schematic change and the fitting back to old designs. And that is a real worry and a real problem. And if it does happen, that would be the reality of it, Mason, is that means, yes, you are in a situation there where you the hope for the future and the hope that you're going to continue to evolve and change is going to be taken out the door at that point. And that's unfortunate. If Carroll's come this far in this process only to stay unchanging in all that he should have learned up until this point, would be very, very disappointed. But I'm going to call him on it if that's the case. And I will be calling on him very, very hard. And there's going to get a lot of people getting in their emotions about it when I do, I'm sure. But so what? It is what it is. And it's going to be obvious if he's not. It was obvious they weren't doing it this preseason. It'll be obvious if we get to the regular season and they're still pulling these kind of shenanigans of simplified defense, simplified coverages, everything soft zone. Whew, nice throw by the Utah quarterback up the seam to the tight end. Put it right over the top, and then the kid looks like he tore his ACL after the catch. Brutal on a great play. Oh, you hate to see that on the kid. You just hate to see that. Flag Sabbath receiver for Miami's Ohio's name's Hippenhammer. Cool name. Hippenhammer is a cool name. You're immediately a little more badass if your last name's Hippenhammer. I feel bad for this tight end. Runs a little sluggo route. Makes the catch. Oh, man, just nothing too crazy about the catch. Just tears his ACL. Jeez. Oh, he's walking off. Maybe he didn't tear it. He's walking off okay. Good. Master Chief says, how has Will Levis done today? Will Levis has been overall good. There's been some mixed bag in there with it, in the respect of, he's has a bad interception this game. There's a little bit of pocket awareness issues at times in this game where he's just had pressure kind of fall into him and he's not done a lot with it. Just sort of like, oh, I've got a guy in my face. I'm going to go down. But he's also, to the other side of it, been good in his read progression. His mechanics have looked solid. His arm strength looks a little bit more improved from what it was even last year. He's showing very decent command of the offense overall. He's also had about 3 or 4 drops in this game from his wide receivers, and he's been under duress a lot. He has had a lot of pressure from Miami up on top of him. There's so many throws I've seen this game where he's throwing the ball and the guy's hitting him. And that's definitely standing out a little bit early on here with that. But overall, good. I think the most things just I still playing the position a little wildly from my standpoint. But on the plus sides of things I didn't expect is I think the arm strength looks a little bit better. You can see as he's walking out the field, he's got bruises all over his arms, on his elbow, blood on the other elbow. He's definitely he's taken his share of shots in this game. 9:04 on the clock. Kentucky will take the field offensively now with Levis back out there. Up 27-13, 9:04 to go here in the third quarter. Levis under center. It's kind of offensive look you'll see in Seattle this year. That gives the running back up the middle through the egg cap. Quickly gets about 3 or 4 yards. Stopped. Nagasa preseason play calling was very disappointing on both sides. It was. I was talking to my brother about this last night. And, I'm very skeptical that you can take yourself, let's just take the defensive side of things. I'm very skeptical that you can take yourself defensively from being what has probably been the most conservative defense in how you run things schematically over the last 10 years and how you've so ardently been that way, to believe that somehow you now, without having a wholesale amount of change from a personnel standpoint, you flip the switch and suddenly game one, you're ready to insert all of that and acclimate it all in and have it all acclimate seamlessly without a whole bunch of back-end mistakes happening with miscommunication and whatnot. I have a hard time seeing it. And I hope that they're able to do it. But it's part of why we were just talking a second ago about the worry that maybe perhaps they're not actually going to implement these changes, that you're going to see more of just the same old. And maybe it'll just be so devastating by putting the changes in play. But I do remain skeptical. I do. And I don't, we'll see what they have to bring to task on that when this is all said and done with this. But my belief is if they do try to run it a lot in Denver, if they try to show a lot of this extraneous stuff, that guys are going to be out of position. There's going to be miscommunication. There's going to be like, oh, we didn't play any preseason with our safeties trying to do this. I think you're going to see some of that. And I hope not, Nagasa. I hope that it's not that conservative come regular season. I hope the play calling looks a lot more like, let's say, the first Colts game of the season we saw last year. More aligned with like that offensively. And then defensively, let's see the cover 2 shell go. Let's see what this Fangio scheme can do. Leave us here 2nd and 6 now. 8:43 to go on the clock. Another handoff here to Smoke. Takes it out wide. Bangs back around in for about a gain of 5 or 6. Looks like he should get a first. Well, they got him a little short of the first down. Utah is driving up the field here against Florida on the other side of things. Flag Sabbath, how many sacks have Levis taken? I think he's got about 3. Let me take a look. Yeah, they don't show on the stats how many taken. I believe it's been 3 sacks. I think so. So we got a 1st and 10 here for Kentucky. 7:51 to go on the clock. Up 27-13 in the third quarter. So I believe us can get another solid drive here. Let's show us what you got here, Will. Three seconds to go on that play call. Get that play call. Back under center, play action. Free runner had a free runner in his face there off of play action. They're not biting on it. Miami of Ohio is just running right past the play action for the quarterback all night. It's where if I'm Kentucky, it's like I would feature a little more of the running game. The defense is showing you that they're not honoring the run. That defender is going to come after the quarterback like that. He's going to leave his leverage on his side of the field wide open. They got lucky there was a penalty on the other side of things. Mason says it's crazy. At one point, Florida had Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, Damian Pierce, and Anthony Richardson at the same time. Freak athleticism. They did, man. I think you had Freddie Swain in there too on that. Wasn't he on that squad too? And Utah gets a score. They go back up in that game in Florida. Another handoff here to Smoke in Kentucky game. Clock will continue to roll here. Kentucky doing just what I said. Let's just commit a little bit more to running the ball at this point. Miami of Ohio is trying to rush the passer and come after Levis. Second and 7. Levis again. This is same formation you'll see from your Seahawks here. 2 tight end sets. Again, they're going to try to throw the ball here, and Levis just quickly throws it away. As I'm saying just a second ago, what you're seeing here in this game is that the Miami of Ohio defense is fully coming after Will Levis. They're not honoring the run game at all. And Kentucky's showing the run a little bit, but they're wanting to go back to the pass play here over and over again. You've got to just stay with the run. There was 2 defenders there that left their run gap responsibility to just come after Levis there on a play action that was from under center. If they start doing that stuff to you in a game, you've got to counter that with the run game. I don't know if the offensive coordinator for Kentucky's just not seeing it or not, but that'd be where he needed to make his adjustment here. 3rd and 7, Levis in shotgun. Delayed blitz. Levis doesn't see it, and he's going to be taken down. Very nice delayed blitz run by the middle linebacker there. Levis a little frustrated, throws the ball away there over to the official. He looked to his first read. Linebacker's right in his face. Definitely a little bit of awareness of the blitz, of defenders getting into the back. Like just the pocket awareness could be a little improved from what I'm seeing in this game out of Levis. I'm seeing a little bit of a lack of awareness at times. The Flag Sabbath, you would hope Carroll doesn't try to Desai and Hurt doesn't try to tie Desai in Hurt's hands. I'd hate for Desai to be one and done here. I would too. And coaches aren't going to last in a place where they think that the methodology is stilted and where they are having their hands tied. That's not how you're going to bring top-notch coaches into play for you. So, Carroll talked about being too arrogant and needing to recognize the arrogance. And, you heard through all that this year on that they understand that. But now that it's more than just saying you understand it, now you got to show that you understand it. And I hope not as well. It's just so odd to me that you would instill this, again, understanding that you're going from this super conservative style of play. You're going from this super conservative style of methodology and schematic approach to one of the most complicated, defensively speaking, in the cover 2 shell. I mean, it's meant to be, we're going to show you cover 2, and then we're going to run every kind of just change of breath out of that you can imagine. We're going to be a heavy blitzing team. We're going to be aggressive. You're first being so much of a lack of aggressive team over the years. If you're going to make that change, I just think you need more of the let's iron out the bumps here a little bit. Let's get these wrinkles out. And that takes nothing but kind of putting it on tape and then ironing it out and then teaching it. But they seem to have confidence that somehow that's not going to be the case. Big Country says Pac-12 football has been hard to watch the last few years. It has. It's been really rough. You don't have any. I think USC will start coming back around there. They've got the coach in there now who's going to allow that to happen. And certainly doesn't look like the NIL is going to do any favors for what's left of the Pac-12 as well. That's part of the decision-making at play for why you have UCLA and USC moving on. But it's been sad to watch, that's for sure. All right, so Miami of Ohio comes out here down by 2 touchdowns, and Blaine Gabbett's brother's bumped around and looks kind of knocked around a bit. Boy, he's been battered a bunch by this Kentucky defense as well. Mason Dale, do you know if Kentucky has any NFL talent on the O-line? I know Darian Kennard went pro. Yeah, Tyler. I think Tyler Smith last year for the Cowboys was a first-round talent for them. He's gone now. I don't know of any guys, and I think they had a center last year. Fortney, I think, was the center that they had playing for him who won the NFL draft. I think he was taken 5th round, 6th round, something like that. But I'm not aware of them having anybody this year as far as a prospect goes. Short punt is going to give the receiver a little room to work with here. He's got an angle on the edge, breaks back across, and he'll take this ball all the way up to the 50-yard line. So Levis in this game is 14 of 24 for 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has 7 carries for negative 18 yards, as that's really him just being under duress and trying to run around and do something. Master Chief 0970, hypothetically, let's say that Will Anderson is available for us to draft with our top pick, along with all the top quarterbacks. What would you pick, Brando? Well, let me build your question up a little bit, because I think your question requires a few more extra details in order to be able to answer it effectively from what I would want to do from a perspective standpoint. So built within your question, and please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on this, would be Will Anderson is a generational talent and continues to show that this year, that everything that's been thought of what he would be is what he is. It's a handoff on 1st and 10 here for Levis and company at the 50, getting a couple of yards. Then on the other side of that, let's also take for granted within your question, was Tyler Smith at Tulsa? I'm sorry, Mason. I'm getting my southern schools all mixed up and jumbled, all mixed and jumbled on up. So also built within your question, I would say that you're saying these top quarterbacks are there, but none of them are necessarily showing themselves to be that defining quarterback talent, right? None of them are an Andrew Luck, John Elway, Trevor Lawrence kind of guy. 2nd 8 here for Will Levis. And that's a first down to Robinson. Nice job. Nice little throw. He's been throwing that in-cutting route. It's maybe been the best throw and route by Levis. That's just guy goes up 10 yards, comes straight in across the field, and he can really time that throw out really well and put it right where it needs to be placed for the receiver. Very good acumen on those type of throws from Will Levis. 2:58 on the clock here in the 3rd quarter. Tavion Robinson with his first 100-yard game, and he has looked pretty good. I think someone just mentioned that in the chat. Handoff, nice spin move by Smoke. So somebody right up in his grill off the snap, able to spin out of contact and get a couple of yards up the football field. So also built with your question is that these guys are the top guys. They are, Master Chief, they are, let's just say, 1st-round quarterbacks rather than being the 1st-round quarterback, if you know what I mean. So I'm building your question up a little bit more in what I think what you're meaning within it by what I'm going to take from within that question. And if that's the case, with the first pick, I take Will Anderson and then just go get the quarterback with the next selection. I mean, that's where I lean. If I saw a guy that does develop this year that does show that he has the traits of being in that camp of, like I said, Elway, Aikman, Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence, if we get a guy that fits into that road of things from this quarterback position and they separate themselves this year in that way, then my mind would change on this if we have a guy that's that guy like that. But if they're just simple 1st-round quarterbacks, all with really good upside, but all with a couple of questions about them as well, I'll take the generational defensive talent number 1 at that point. Nagasis says the other problem with Levis is his wild runs. Just too dangerous. Yeah, Carroll would chill that stuff out pretty quickly. So it's worrisome for me And Levis is rolling out here, throws back across his body and into the receiver's hands, but the receiver drops it. Seen this a couple times today where he puts a throw on, it's there, it's back across his body. It's not thrown with a lot of heat, but the receiver just can't hold on to the football. That's the part, though, that I think that having a guy like Carroll, he would coach that out of Levis really quick, you know. And again, Levis didn't put this on the body of the guy, but Levis is rolling to his right. It's going to be hard throwing back across your body with accuracy there. Receiver's got to catch that ball. But he had a wild run in this game, Nagasa. He runs out and then jumps up into the air and takes a double smack with two shoulder pads into his arm, his throwing arm on the play. Not ideal. This kick will be up and good. So the Kentucky Wildcats will go up 30-13 here now. Oh, we got offsides. All right. Nagasa, if we have the top pick and another top 10, I would pick Anderson first, then a quarterback. Yeah, I would too. Part of it, again, is that if he's that generational guy, there's not a lot of those guys that come out really at the end of the day. There just isn't. And the other part of this is that you have a quarterback class that should be deep. Even if it's not strong, even if it doesn't have the generational defining players at the position, there will be a depth to this quarterback class, undoubtedly. And that provides you the ability to go find your guy elsewhere. Again, understanding that you're not looking for the guy that's got to throw 40 times a game and absolutely tilt the field in every way. You're looking for the guy that can manage the game, that can be proficient with the limited attempts you're going to ask from him, that can move around in the pocket maybe a little bit and do some things with his legs when the play breaks down. Mason says, I'm done scouting Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks. Let's just draft whoever's playing quarterback for North Dakota State. I know we've been talking bad about Swain since he was cut, but for a 7th round pick, he was an okay player. He's actually a 6th round pick. I was looking up the other day. I thought he was 7th round too, but I guess he was a 6th round pick. Yeah, he was fine for that, Mason. He was fine for what he was. I mean, but you go back to last year, his second year in the league, and he had a lot of targets, and didn't do a lot with those targets that he was given. I mean, considering it was a lot of targets, I would say, for a 4th or 5th wide receiver on your roster, and in my opinion, just didn't do a lot with those targets. And the analytics backed it up. He's 110 out of 120. But he hasn't been the problem over the last couple of years. Like, the issues with this roster are not Swain based. And Florida's doing another good job here of just really a lot of running here. So they're trying to come back and counter Utah, who scored a touchdown on them. Master Chief, in my opinion, I feel like if one of the quarterbacks do go off, I would still go for Anderson because of how deep this quarterback class is. It'd be tempting. It would be tempting, and it's if I've got a John Elway type talent, I just can't pass on that myself. I by the nature of things and understanding that you get a guy that's that cemented and good, they don't tend to fail out at the same sort of high rate that you see from other guys that are given that sort of label of things. Other number 1 picks that I've seen through my lifetime, like a Jamarcus Russell or a Baker Mayfield, or even a Kyler Murray, who's been good, but not in that realm of things. That's not the kind of guy I'm talking about here. I'm talking about those guys that tried and true people recognize as, there's something a little bit different about this number 1 overall pick. Now you've talked yourself into making a guy a number overall pick, like Tim Couch was back in the day. Another, I believe, Kentucky quarterback, the last probably good Kentucky quarterback, outside of Jared Lorenzen. But that's where, when it comes to those kind of guys, they tend to be that good. And I just couldn't pass on him. And boy, Richardson just did an amazing play. Richardson just did a Russell Wilson play where he's rolling out, defenders bearing down on him, does the fake throw pirouette spin move off of the fake throw, gets out of that gets past that defender, and then throws just a beam to the back of the end zone. Great play. Great throw by Richardson there. And the third quarter's winding down here for Miami. The gospel says, speaking of generational talents, still can't believe what the Niners gave up for Lance. They seem to have recognized they were off of Jimmy Garoppolo pretty quick when they realized it, and then they made their decision that they need to go heavy towards countering that situation some way or another. What's odd for me on that is that he's looking at the young guy rather than looking for maybe more of the veteran quarterback that might have existed out there on the open market. And they didn't know that Matt Ryan would be available like this offseason. But boy, if they had not made that selection and instead had just kept building their team up, he's already worked with Matt Ryan in the past. That would have been the trade to go to the Niners, which would have been phenomenal for them, I think, to make that kind of deal. Or Stafford last year, which, they were in on, but not really in on. But yeah, they've got a lot riding on that Lance pick, man. And if that thing fails, which again, bringing back Garoppolo alone is indicative to me that they're already a little bit touchy about the fact that it's not looking exactly like they wanted to see at this point in time. Mason Dale says, give me your top 5 prospects of all time, but don't say someone like Brady. I'm talking true blue chippers. Oh, okay. I'll give you a Husky to start things off, just to give you a curveball on this. Steve Entman. If Steve Entman didn't wreck his knee on the AstroTurf very early on in his career, he very well could have been a guy that we talked about as one of those all-time greats. He was a monster at the University of Washington. Absolute freakish monster. John Elway would be on there. Guy could have played baseball or football, either one. So he would be another guy. And he was his legs back in the day were a separator, a guy to have that ability to move like he could with the prototypical size he had. And then he had an absolute howitzer for an arm. The combination of all that was too good on him. So he would be number 2 for me. Bo Jackson, Jason Wilson mentions Bo Jackson. I think it's weird, Jason, you posted that, and I was just thinking Bo's name as well. And everything that I just said about John, you could apply with Bo Jackson as well. Complete package from the running back position, size, speed, elusiveness, burst, undeniable with that. So Bo would probably be on that list as well. So that's, I think, what I'm at, 3 or 4 there. I got to think of the other 2. Let me think on the other 2. I feel good about, we have a commercial break in process. Okay. So I'll have to think about the other 2. I don't want to just give you canned answers. I feel good about those first 3. There's a sheer prospect coming out. Reportedly, Bo ran a 4.2, but there was never, I don't think that there was ever, he didn't go to the combine because he was going to play baseball by that point. So he didn't do any of the pro day number stuff. But I think if you ask Bo, he'd tell you he ran a 4.2. JD Phipps, what are my thoughts on Will Levis? Overall, he's played a good game. He's 15-26 for 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The interception was an awful interception. It's a stick route throw down at the goal line. He determines before the snap he's going to throw the ball. Not a good pass. But around those throws, he's displayed really good arm strength. He's displayed really good mechanics, which is what we knew about him coming in. He's gone through a lot of progression reads at times, being able to even go full field reads, which has been interesting. Still running a lot of the pro stuff under center. He has been under duress a lot this game. It gets maybe a little bit better here in this half with Miami than the first half, but it has been a part of this game that you have to take notice of, which is that there's times where he's getting to his back foot in his drop, and he's got pressure right there in his face with no time to think. He's also had a good share of drop passes in this game. I would estimate that there's probably been about 4 or 5 drops, which is part of why his completion percentage is not as high as one might expect it to be in this game. So that's also factored in. There's been a little bit for me on the negative side. It's the interception, a little bit of pocket awareness where there's been times he's not aware of the pressure coming around him or what's happening there. But overall encouraging in his play today. Miss Gaines says, come on, Brando. Most of the chat weren't alive when Edmund played. I know that's going with a pretty vague reference, but go look at where he was selected. He was the number 1 overall selection in the draft as a defensive lineman. That tells you how good Steve Edmund was. A defensive tackle is the number 1 overall pick. Big Country's got Ndamukong Suh. I think Suh's a good selection. He's got a good, Suh, you could make his freakishness strength-wise was absurd. So I think Suh's good to put on that list. Let's throw him in at 4. Master Chief, I think the reason why I'm really pulling for getting Anderson is because I feel like Jefferson would be a fun prospect to get with a Broncos pick. That would be a guy. I'm signing me up for that. Anderson and KJ Jefferson, all aboard. Woo, woo. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm with it. Have I seen KJ Jefferson's scrambling ability? Oh, Will Levis's. A little bit. He's not been running as much in this game, JD. He had one run he ran where he was kind of being a little bit of reckless, where he just sort of threw his body into some defenders and jumped in the air. But no, it's been mainly in the pocket. A little bit of rollout, throwing on the moves look good. But he hasn't done as much scrambling. That's been part of that pocket awareness where you'd be expecting at times to maybe move a little bit more in the pocket and scramble a little bit more. And he's just remained stilted instead, just trying to kind of go through his reads. Master Chief says, I obviously like Stroud and Levis more, but I feel like the Jefferson would be a good pickup. Well, I mean, all 3 of those names for me, Master Chief, I don't have to tell you, those are my 1, 2, 3, you know? So I got Levis, Stroud, Jefferson is my 1, 2, 3 as it currently stands, subject to change. Of course, subject to change. Oh, I got the other freak. Here's another old name for who's I'm going to look it up. I got the last name. I got the last name for you guys. Here's another old name. Tony Mandrich. Offensive tackle is your 5th all-time freak. Tony Mandrich. Steroid user and abuser extraordinaire. Jason Wilson says Google has Bo at 4.13. That's the fastest 40, not at the combine, like you said, bro. And Jason, I say there are these certain guys, you know, there was a collection of athletes to me in the 80s that you could still, if those guys were in the modern age, they still would have been great. Mike Tyson, if he was boxing now at his age, when he was 19, 20 breaking in, he'd be still murdering fools. It's what, you know, like normally in sports, you go 20, 30 years later and you're like, they're just athletically not good enough to be able to hang with these modern athletes. It's just a different game. It's a different blah, blah, blah. That's a guy I go, nope, he could have hung. Michael Jordan is a guy I think I could have hung in this modern age. Barry Sanders is a guy at the running back position who I think could have, again, you guys are like reading my mind on some of these names. He's a guy that could have hung in the modern age as a running back, I think, but Bo was that guy as well. And go back and watch Bo's highlights of him running in the open field with the Raiders. And you see that looks legitimately like 4.2, 4.3-ish speed even back then. I mean, he is just, it's like a gust of wind going up the field past these guys. And for his size to be moving that fast as he is, it was completely that. It was that freakish. It was legitimately that freakish. Tony Mandrich. So he was I believe, a Green Bay Packers offensive lineman back in the day. Jason Wilson, I remember watching the game where Bo threw that guy out from the warning track. Ball didn't hit the ground, rocket for an arm. Oh, just a completely all-time freakish athlete in every respect. And yeah, he had an arm, crazy arm from the outfield as well. It's a pretty good ball player, good power. You know, you wonder where if he was going to maybe even develop better as a ball player if he just spent with it 24/7 and that was his whole thing versus doing both sports, and how that was going to, you know, kind of tax him in the way that it did, / not let him necessarily develop. Kentucky's taking back over here, and they're going to run the ball, and nobody out start to try to get this clock running in the fourth quarter with 12:51 to go. Mason says, outside of a franchise quarterback, a great owner, or a great coach, I think the most impactful asset in football is a superstar pass rusher. Definitely can make a strong argument for it, man. There's a lot of teams in recent memory that's been the case. And boy, a lot of guys going down with knee injuries here. A lot of knees. Master Chief Shaq would have averaged 50 nowadays. Yeah, but he's a 90s athlete. So, yeah, but yeah, Shaq could have played in any era, 100%. Shaq could have played in any era. Could Barkley have played in any era? Maybe. I don't know if Barkley could have. I mean, Barkley could have done the small balls thing real well. He would have fit into the modern age game pretty good, I think. Jason Wilson, are there still athletes playing 2 professional sports? Cool, I'll check that out. Playing 2 major sports was wild. Deion Sanders. Yeah, Deion doing it. Nope, nobody else is doing it anymore. I think it was those guys you could see it was taxing and for them to try to pull it off. I mean, they were doing it, but it was all they could. They were using up every bit of their special athleteness to make it happen. And in Bo's case, you could maybe say, did that hip wear down a little bit after playing all of that baseball season, then going playing football? After doing it a couple of years, did that start to wear out his legs a little bit rather than having enough time to let those heal like you would in an off season, especially the running back position, which is so horrendous on the body throughout the course of the year. To go have to play baseball as soon as you finish up from that was just too tall of a task. Augustus says Shaq could average 50 today at 60 years old. Yeah, maybe. I don't know about that. He was by the end, you know, those lower leg injuries he had, I think feet injuries and toe and stuff, and all that stuff had kind of gotten him to the point by the end with Shaq where he was a little gimpy moving around on that floor at the end. He was pretty easy to fall down there at the end. I don't know. Shaq in his prime, I'm with you, but Shaq today is like probably a good 50 pounds overweight, 60 pounds overweight. The country says Russ did spring training a while back, but I don't think that counts. No, that was part of Russ's photo shoot. Click, 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 click. Look at me swinging the bat. Click, click, click. See, I could do baseball if I wanted. Click, 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 click. See, I could be a baseball. I'm a football player, but see, I could be a baseball player. Click, 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 click. This Utah-Florida game is pretty exciting. And we're back on the field there with Kentucky. Nice little throw there by Levis up the middle. $12:11 to go. First and 10. Leave us back under center here. You got to figure Kentucky's going to try to a little bit bubble screen. Okay. Utah Utes score on the other side of things, so they will go back up in this back and forth contest against Florida. Rich Scangarello. 11:36 to go here in Kentucky game. 2nd and 7. Boy, Levis has got bruises all over his arms. Gives up the middle of the running back here. I'll work a little bit of clock. Mr. Kane says Tavion Thomas is a stud. He's a pretty good back, man. Does a good job of running behind his pads. He's a big boy, too. Master Chief, are the sacks on Will's awareness or the O-line or a bit of both? I would put it to a bit of both. Mainly, though, it's O-line problems more than anything else. One was a delayed blitz. So one was a delayed blitz where he didn't recognize the linebacker was coming. Again, a little bit of a tendency in what I'm seeing in Will here in this game of pre-snap making kind of a feel and a determination on what he wanted to do or what he decided was the case of what happened, and then not being able to change off of that then later into the game. So, or into the post-snap part of the play. This is a little bit what we see with Russ at times, where Russ will, when he's on and he's making his assessment pre-snap, it's great. But when he was off and he couldn't quite, he had determined, oh, this guy's not coming, that guy's coming, and then it was completely different. There was no quick adjustment to him at that point. Nagasa says, oh, yeah, what's up with Carson Strong? He was released earlier. The knee probably just is not right. It's not going to hold up. That's why he went undrafted, and it's probably continuing to be why he's not going. He's probably not going to be in the NFL. He had the major surgery. There was a lot of worry about the knee. You watched the last year of his college. He was really hampered in the fact that you could see he couldn't put a lot on the knee. It was very gimpy for him post-surgery. I had been told, and what the research I had done on him was that he was supposed to bounce back from it, and then a year after the knee injury that it would be better and that he would be able to come back. But evidently, I would guess that he's just not able to get it back up to, it's just not near 100%. Mason Dale says, where did Mafe rank for you out of the edge rushers? My tier 1 was Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Walker, Ebiketie. Tier 2 was Karlaftis, Johnson, then Mafe at the top of tier 3. I wasn't quite as high on Ebiketie as others were, Mason, and you're not alone on that. There were a lot of people that had Ebiketie into that tier of things. I would have put Karlaftis into that same tier behind Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and Walker. I would have gone tier 2 with Johnson, Ebiketie, Mafe. To me, Mafe and Ebiketie are kind of two different players. Mafe's about where he's going. Ebiketie's about really where he's at. And what I mean by that is I just don't know that there's as much ceiling on Ebiketie. I think he's kind of what he is coming in out the gate. Whereas with Mafe, I think there's a lot more of a development ceiling with him. And in that ceiling, there's a better player. So that comes down to on that argument and debate between them and where you'd rank them on what are you looking for more there? The guy that's more polished, less ceiling, or the guy that's not as polished but has the higher upside? And that's one of the eternal football debates that exist out there. Jason Wilson says there's a video of Jordan and Brady shooting the B-ball near the ocean. MJ still has it. I bet he does. One of my favorite debates is getting into it with these youngins about the debate between LeBron and Jordan. And just what's nice is at least the Last Dance documentary made some of them kind of go, oh, there was something a little bit different about that guy. Yeah. Jason says Notre Dame's driving up on OSU, up 10-7. Oh, is Ohio State going to lose to Notre Dame out the gate here? Is that going to happen? And we got a 1st and goal here with Levis and company now. Getting sidetracked. They keep going to television timeouts in this game. And we're going to get another one now as Levis calls another timeout. Every time I try to go watch a game in this Kentucky second half, it's been like an injury and then a timeout for 10 minutes. And then they come back and then there's a play and then another timeout for 15 minutes. And then they're slow rolling the second half like nobody's business. Jason Wilson, do I think the UK has a shot at the playoffs with the schedule? And I have to go, Yeah, I mean, you do. I worry where this offensive line's at, quite frankly. This could be the thing that holds them back because they don't run the ball good enough not to have Levis not be throwing the ball all over the park a little bit. And that's going to lead me to believe I'm going to be a little skeptical to believe that they're going to be able to push really far when that's something that's so much a big Achilles for them right now as it looks right now. I mean, Jason, if Miami's looked this good and getting pressure on him, what happens when a legit program there are a couple, there's the Ole Miss game, there's a Florida game, there's a Georgia game on their schedule. To me, those games look like there's probably at least one loss in that mix of those 3 games, if not 2. But I still think you're fine. Your initial projection was kind of on point. Nagasa said, I heard he didn't get any chance, not even in practice. Oh, that's interesting, Nagasa. Well, no doubt you want to give Hurts a lot of reps and Minshew a lot of reps behind him, so that's not going to leave a lot on the bone for the third guy. Seattle's obviously not too interested in him, though. They didn't go for him for an undrafted rookie free agent, and they went with this Mannion guy over the top of him now. So they probably just don't feel too high on him. A lot of these bubble screens on third and short. It's working, but it's a weird call. Jason, MJ is 6-0 in NBA championship games. He is indeed. I just think he's just a different cat when it comes to sport and his mentality on it. And he's one of the rare guys that had the talent he had and that rare mentality. I just don't know that you always get to sync that up with somebody that's that freakish and that also driven to win like Jordan is. Yeah, I don't think this UK team's beating Georgia or Alabama. All right, so Levis is going to be back out here on the field for a first and goal. Down around the 3-yard line here. Levis there threw that a little hard off the hands of the fullback tight end there, swinging wide. Strange play there. So Levis is on the edge of throwing for 300 yards now. Second and goal. Looks like they have a penalty, I guess, here. Levis has got a man in the flat. He's down at the 1. Running back Smoke couldn't quite keep his feet in bounds after making the catch. Levis did a good job on that throw. He had a couple guys in his face and had to kind of throw that over the top of those hands. Still got it out there accurately to Smoke. It's not the toughest throw in the gate, but sometimes you can rush it and throw it right into the hands of the defenders that are trying to jump there. Yeah, it does look like Smoke was a little bit out there. So for third and goal now, Levis under center. Drops back to throw. Oh, a nice throw. The cornerback tried to jump the route. He threw it right in front of him on a comeback route. Dangerous throw, but showing off a little bit of the arm strength there down by the goal line did Levis on that throw. He got that inside the hands of the defender. Third touchdown pass on the day by Levis. He's definitely rebounded from that interception. Just a great placement on that ball. Puts it to the back shoulder kind of spot as he's coming back to the ball, so the defender has to come further and longer across the body of the receiver to get to the ball. Too far to go for him. Good job on the ball placement there. Of course, when a short route there, it's all about a little bit of ball placement. But nice throw, touchdown by Levis. So he stands now 21 of 32, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Definitely has brought this game back around here in his favor. Mason says, I think Ebiketti's athleticism is a bit underrated. I was also high on him because he has an ideal body type. A little on the short side, but he has really long arms, giving him great leverage. And he's a good player. Mason, don't get me wrong. I don't want to knock him and make it seem like I don't have him on a good level. And your assessment of him does fit more, I think, with what would be kind of where the consensus was on him. So I like where he's at. I think he'll be a good player. I think he's going to be productive very early on in his career. But that's the one spot with me that I wonder on is the upside. And you might be right on the athleticism. I thought he was a little bit reliant on being the technician with his hands as much as anything. And that's where I like more of Boy Maffe's explosiveness, size, get off. Some of the things that I liked with him, which were just more of the natural physical traits that Maffe brings to the stage. Have a good night, Jason. Jason Valves says, and Florida and Utah, University of Kentucky could top 20 qualified team and end up with 5 or 6 losses if things don't bounce their way. They could, yeah. It's the tough part about playing a little bit of a tougher schedule at the end of the day. I mean, they've got some easier spots through here, but you've got already on the schedule here Florida, Ole Miss, and Georgia, and then if you get to the conference championship, that's Alabama. Definitely makes it tougher, but that's also why you got to give the guy credit, and a guy like Levis if he is able to perform through that well, even if the results aren't a lot of wins and losses, because he's overcoming that a little bit in your assessments. Like the offensive line tonight is CJ Stroud and Bryce Young in their games they're playing tonight right now getting hit at the same rate that I've seen Will Levis tonight. I doubt it. And it's hard to play the quarterback position as well when you are under that much duress. And I think you got to give those guys a little more credit on that as far as bumping them up a little bit to say, hey, he's having to deal with this versus these other guys that aren't. This is an attribute. This is a skill and his ability to still overcome when not everything is right. So Kentucky up 37-13 with 7:46 to go in this game. Good opener here. All of the quarterbacks that we tracked today have been doing pretty well in how we can view where things have gone. So very encouraged by what we've seen here. And right now, Utah is up on Florida 26-22 with 1:53 to go left in the fourth quarter. Anthony Richardson's going to take the field here. Let's see if he's got a drive in him to get him up the field. They've got 2 timeouts, so a lot of time to work with for Richardson. They're running a lot of pistol stuff with him here right now in this game. He's going to have to run here. He's got an angle on the edge, and they've got him up the field a little bit here. So they're threatening in the red zone already. He's very, very good about getting just quickly up to speed. Doesn't have that gear that Lamar does. He doesn't have that quickness, doesn't have that speed. But some of that Lamar's game kind of stuff does kind of exist there with Richardson just a little bit. Richardson 17-24, 168 yards, 9 carries, 99 yards. They're going to let him take it here again on this play. He'll pick up about 4. Yeah, Kentucky still also has Tennessee on there, Mississippi State, South Carolina. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Mr. Kane says, I see a bit of RG3 with Richardson. Am I crazy? No, I could see it. A thicker RG3. Especially because what you're also probably having happen too is that he's running so much pistol, it's making you think, because RG3 was just running nothing but pistol out of Baylor and then with Washington. So that's got to be probably a little bit of it as well, as he looks so similar in how he kind of runs it with it. But I could see that. Good straight line speed like Robert had. SEC is tough, big country. That's a man's league right there. And Miami of Ohio is trying to get back up the field here with 5:58 left on the clock. No doubt Kentucky's going to start rolling this ball downhill here. MSR Rook says, I'm telling you, a skinnier Josh Allen. It was ours. It says, I'm telling you, not as chunky Josh Allen. I'm telling you, not as fatly a Josh Allen. Hey, Tom Brady called him fat this year in the offseason, didn't he? Like, oh, Josh is fat. He's got that extra Wilson cushion, man. That's all it is. Just a wee bit of that. Ugh. It's got to be the most painful for a running back is you got a guy chasing you on the backside, and then they get their hands on you, and they just slow you up. And it's almost like when a guy in a movie's getting punched by like some thugs, and they one guy pulls the guy's arms back behind him so they can't protect themselves, and then the other guy just comes up and hits him. And so as a running back, you're in the open field running, you got the guy behind you, and he just gets your shoulder pads and holds you up just enough, and then you have the safety coming up like a missile. And you got one whole arm already holding the ball, and then you're trying to get the guy off with his other arm, and then you just have sometimes the guys get the free shot. You can see those ones just hurt the running backs. They kind of get up a little bit always just like, I didn't break anything. Oh, but I can't feel my chest. WSU's down 10-7 already to Idaho. Are they cougging it? It's a little early in the year to be already cougging it, isn't it? It's a bit early. It's a bit early for Coogan. No Coogan this year. Looks like our Mariners are up end of the 8th, 4-0. Let's go, Mariners. Yeah, it looks like Miami of Ohio is just giving up in this one. They're just trying to run the ball up the middle now. They're just like, roll the clock. Roll the clock. Good day from Will Levis today. Definitely some things to build upon. It's got to get a little less wild in his play on the field. But some of the things were outside of his control today that you might knock him on that I just don't think you can knock him on. And indeed, at this point, Miami of Ohio is basically going to run this clock out here. So they're not even really trying to get up the football field past just run it out. And certainly Will's going to run it out on his side of things. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this here shortly, as there won't be a lot else to turn over in this game. Like, even if Kentucky gets the ball back, they're going to be basically taking a knee at this point. But I'll say this. Is there enough in this game that I see of Levis to have him knocked down from my chart today? Did I see something grossly out of whack from what I saw last year? No. Was I hoping to see a little bit more of stepping forward in this play as far as, for instance, the interceptions? He threw 13 interceptions last year. You wanted to see maybe that built upon a little bit better this given season. And the fact that you don't see that here is a little bit concerning. But again, this is why we also need the full year of tape to be able to evaluate him. The two things that stand out in this game that you've got to give Levis credit for, the fact that he had a lot of drops out there, probably 5 or 6 drops by his receivers, where you've got 2 hands on the ball. I don't care if it's a slightly tough difficulty of catch. You get 2 hands on the ball, you need to catch the ball. There aren't really any excuses for that. And so you've got to give him a little bit of plus side on that. Yes, he was only in this game, theoretically, only 21 of 32, but hard to knock him when on the side of you have all those drops. He was also under pressure. I would say probably about 70% of his dropbacks, he had pressure in his face pretty quick. So I think that's also something that you got to kind of take into account here in the assessment of him today. But nothing he's done in this day that would knock him down in my chart as far as on the quarterback list and rankings. KJ Jefferson might find himself pushing himself up a little bit more off the charts off of what he did this week. But overall pretty solid. And if Randall, if you're listening to, yes, I do still have, I do have Richardson on my watch list. And Richardson, by the way, was able to just get a score on the quarterback keeper there for Florida, which puts them up by 3 points here with 1:29 left to go on the clock. Big Country, WSU was surprisingly decent last year. Can't say the same for UW. It's true. It's very true. They looked better than UW did last year. They lost a couple guys this offseason, so they've got to do some replacing as well within that. Nagasa says, don't show Pete that INT. Yeah, he would be, you'd get steam coming out of Pete's ears if he saw that Levis on interception. But one throw doesn't make a day. And the fact that I think he didn't have any other real turnover-worthy plays that I saw outside of maybe one other pass that had a potential of being there, everything else was really, really solid in this game from how he played it. It's Miami of Ohio. It's not the toughest of tests. I think we're going to take more away when he starts getting into more of the legitimate competition all the way down the line. But again, this guy doesn't have a stacked team. Kentucky is not a major program per se, as we think of the Georgias and the Alabamas and, you know, some of these other major programs. So he doesn't have the most of talent to work with either, as I think evidenced by the fact he was under so much duress and by the fact he had so many drops. That's going to have to be built into the assessment a little bit with Levis if both of those two things remain a commonality as we go through the rest of this season. And yeah, it looks like indeed Miami's got a whole new quarterback in there and everything else. So, well, I appreciate you guys watching. Mr. Kane says, hey, no dumping on UW. My kids go there laughing out loud. I love UW. I'm more UW guy than I am Coug guy. So he was just Big Country was to just take a little bit of, you know, he was feeling my subtle shot at the Cougars with my Couganet line. So he was answering back. He was answering my salvo back with another salvo. So I get it. I get it. But encouraging today down the line. All the guys that we look at on my top 5 board, Van Dyke played really good despite not very many attempts. My number 5 guy, KJ Jefferson, my number 3 guy, really did well against Cincinnati. Just based on what we're seeing from him, he had a really well-played game. Stroud struggling a little bit out the gate, it looks like, here with Notre Dame. But Bryce Allen's doing well against Alabama. So the top guys are looking pretty good. We also got some good play today out of Anthony Richardson here for Florida. He certainly looked like he's going to help this Florida team come back against Utah and potentially win. An unranked Florida squad, by the way, pulling this off. So I think that's pretty telling as well. He's looking really, really good. Just one more name to throw on into the hat. And definitely Richardson's going to be on that watch list from how I view things here. So I appreciate you guys. All love from me too over on my side, Mr. Kane. I appreciate you guys for watching today. I'm going to try to be back on tomorrow on the Hawks Nest side of things and see if we can do a live stream tomorrow. We're going to be doing a bunch of streaming this week on the Hawks Nest side. But I do plan throughout the course of this year to try to do some of these games on the college side as far as streaming it goes, if you guys are down to watch. So thank you for popping on in here. I appreciate it. We'll see if Levis is going to be our guy moving in the future. But like I said, the kid does get me excited. He does enough things to encourage me and make me feel like this is a guy that I wouldn't mind helming my team going forward. And again, did nothing today that dissuaded me from that output and how I view it. Certainly want to see some things continue to progress in the kid, but I'm not going to hold him over the barrel for one particular throw versus all the other throws that were pretty on point in his decision-making, which was pretty on point today overall. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for watching. And we will be back out again on this soon. Come on over to the Hawks Nest tomorrow. But other than that, please don't ever forget, never forget, ever forget now. Go Hawks.